Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are live. It's looking like it's going to be a fun Friday night. We've got a fun slate of games. It's a pretty good mix of East and West, or East and West. Yeah, East and West. Sorry, we are in Key and Peele there for a minute. We do have a version of the East and West Bowl. We might as well just turn the All-Star game into an East-West Bowl at this point. That might be the most entertaining part of it. But, yeah, right now we've got the Dallas versus Pistons. That first quarter just ended, and we're waiting on Philly versus Denver to start. It is in Philly, so it's like, is Embiid gonna play versus Jokic? Are we gonna finally get the matchup? Embiid in front of his hometown, finally. I mean, come on, Embiid. Like, we get it, you're not gonna play a lot of games, but if there's gonna be a couple of matchups, if you want to really give the Sixers fans something that's worth their time this season, one of the games, it's just really a good game. Uh, Jokic in town, that might be one of the matchups that's worth doing it. But pause. Unfortunately, the entire Sixers squad is out tonight, so we'll only have to suffer through that one for a little bit because we do have Spurs versus Bucks as well. And the Spurs we're in the mix now in the trade deadline. The trade deadline is quickly approaching, so of course we've got to talk about that. And it's fun to just be in the mix. It's always fun to just anytime they're talking about you, but you love to be talked about, but or you don't. I guess just in general, you love to be in the mix either way. It's not necessarily that the people are talking about you. It's just that's how you know that at least a guy like us, like that's how you know that they're in the mix in terms of the trade market specifically. In terms of them being competitive and other stuff, like you can gauge some of that stuff on the court just watching the games. But in terms of the actual moves and the team building and the inside information, like of course you do need to hear stories. You do need to hear rumblings, but you also need the teams to be active. Pause. And you need the teams to, have assets, but there needs to be that mix of guys wanting to go to the team and them having the ability to pull that off. And the Spurs we're in that position. Pause. We've had the assets for a couple of seasons now. Obviously, of course, we get Wemby last year. And now the last part of that, the guys are starting. Another pause. The guys are starting to, be attracted to San Antonio. They're starting to be drawn. There it is. I was looking for the right word there, chat. They're starting to be drawn towards San. Obviously, that's a pause, but there's some other more egregious pauses that could have been laid out there. But, the guys are starting to view San Antonio as a destination. Whoa, maybe we just need to take an English class, chat, and just figure out a better way to start phrasing things. But did I say the Spurs were playing Milwaukee? That is the game in a little bit. Wemby versus Giannis. Wemby's definitely playing tonight, chat. Should we see? Let's see. Victor Wembanyama's bro? Nah. Just in case. Okay, yeah. Looks like Wemby's good to go. You gotta double check. A Friday night. I guess not national TV, but it will be front and center of the Rev and Sam pod. So, national in a way. But yeah, unfortunately, that Sixers Nuggets game is gonna be the ESPN game for tonight. They just need to actually. I guess they are gonna start finding teams in a way in the new CBA if guys were gonna miss games. There's going to be investigations. There was going to be cracking down on it. There's going to be, new rules instituted, and they're taking away awards and putting players in timeout and starting to ground them. Like, you can't be on first team All NBA. You can't be a third team All NBA, or you've missed too many games. You can't win the MVP. You haven't played enough. But it doesn't matter, At the end of the day, Maybe the buck is just what matters, chat. Maybe the dollar is just what is the most important thing. And as long as the players, and not that we're saying in a roundabout way that the league should take their money. I'm just saying in the overall grand scheme of how do you get the Sixers to show up against the Nuggets in a national TV game. Is that just the one thing? Is that just we all know there's a kid that breaks the rule and they have to change the rule, and they're like, okay, everybody, we're changing the rule, but it's like we all know that it's because this one guy's around right now. It's like obviously everybody, and the Clippers as well too. I mean, there are other teams. It's just, of course, this version of the matchup is one of the most significant 1v1 matchups that we could have at a direct position as well too, where, and especially the center position, like, I mean, and it's a credit to the league that there's just a lot of wings and a lot of guards around right now, but it just seems like every night you can get a good version of a, 6'9" and under matchup. Durant, 7 foot, but Durant plays, of course, more like a wing than like a 7-footer, of course, but and he does use his 7 feet to his advantage. Pause. Well, hey, yo. But yeah, what were we saying, chat? That was a rattling one. I'm not gonna lie. That's crazy. Kevin Durant is, hey, yo. But yeah, you do get a good like matchup of swings and guards and stuff. And especially now, as like Sam has pointed out as well too, where the league is trending a little bit, like, there's not as many direct, like, the point guards can double as wings. Like, Shea is a point guard, but Shea is like 6'6", Shea could have, in 1980, is he a power, 1960, make no mistake, the man's a center. Or, maybe the 40s or whatever. 6'6". I guess, how tall was Mikan? Was Mikan like 6'3" or something like that? I don't know. I think Russell's not like 6'6". Russell's like 6'9", right? 6'11", something like that. Like, he's upper 6 feet, I think. But yeah, a lot, and like Brunson as well too is like one of the smaller guards in the league, but he's got a game that is, trends a little bit bigger with the way he can use his post ups, and he can hold his own there offensively in a way. Like, same with Jamal Murray. Like, Jamal Murray's just shot making ability at the peak of its powers. Like, the way he was hitting shots over Anthony Davis in the playoffs, it's like, okay, well then, yeah, nobody can guard this guy. It doesn't matter if he's, 6'3" or whatever. But an actual, like, and maybe it even goes a layer further. It just, another layer further. It's not just a center matchup, but the ability for the centers to be able to actually have a chess match offensively. Because how many guys are able to do that? It's there's a lot of great centers in the league. Like, think of a guy like Bam Adebayo. Like, as much as we love Bam Adebayo, he's not going to put Jokic in the post and work Jokic. And, Jokic and Embiid are, solid 1v1 defenders themselves, too. Especially Jokic against, another center matchup for sure can hold his own. Like, that's why Towns has been such an interesting name, like, in the offseason as well, when he was up for, who knows potentially if he gets moved, and just in general, it's because, like, in the playoffs, you're watching him go toe-to-toe with Jokic, and you're just like, okay, well, at the end of the day, there isn't a lot of guys that can do this, and they're being successful, and he is having, good minutes against him. And obviously, he's not on the level quite offensively, all-rounded wise, as those guys. At least, Embiid at the peak of his powers anyways. And Karl Towns is shooting. And Embiid's three-point shooting as well, too, at the peak. Like, just in terms of a shot maker, like, he's really good. Obviously, the percentages for Cat are better. And Jokic has now just decided to be the best three-point shooter in the league this year. But, when Embiid, of course, was really cooking the last couple of years, like, his three-point percentage was really creeping up. And he was really showing that he had some consistency there as well. Like, as much as good as Towns is from the three-pointer, like, late game situation, it's like, okay, if Embiid's taking a three or Towns is taking a three, like, I kind of have equal confidence. Like, Embiid's three-point making is that good. And Jamal Murray's throw is looking good right now, chat. Is this like he's not going to cut it until he stops playing well? I don't know if we have to go pull the box scores back up for Jamal Murray. I feel like we did a Jamal Murray corner recently, but make no mistake, we love looking at box scores. We may just do it again, chat. Pause. But he's got I guess, is there a comp for this in the league? Of course, Kobe White, and he has maybe at the peak of his powers, maybe the ultimate haircut in the league when he had it all, like, throwed out like that and stuff. But his was a little more, and did he have his, like, tied off as well too? Murray's is not that big. Pause. Hey, that's crazy. We're just talking about his haircut up top, chat. Jamal Murray, he can use that Drake bar. We of course, we unfortunately shout out, but we just haven't been bumping Family Matters recently. The lyrics, word for word, are just not fresh in our mind. But what does he say? Is it even Family Matters that he has that song that bar is on when he's like, "There's no big three, just big D," and there's video proof? That is Family Matters, right? Or is that Push Ups? That better be on Push Ups, because that might be honestly the best bar that he dropped in the whole thing. And Push Ups is just, I think, because of the conciseness of it, is, the easiest of his diss tracks to listen to, at least on DSPs. Again, what songs from Drake from the battle are on DSPs? We haven't. Unfortunately, Drake's been on. He's been a little bit over there in the rotation right now. It just is what it is. It's not. We're not going to get a hot take and be like, we can never listen to Drake again. It's like, come on. We grew up in we were teenagers in the 2010s. At the end of the day, Take Care and Nothing Was the Same and Views, and these albums are ingrained in our existence as growing up, whether we like it or not. Like, these are the cultural moments we experienced as a teen. So at the end of the day, they're probably going to be in the rotation. But for right now, it's like, hey, maybe let's just see how this lawsuit goes. Maybe we can't go to the 2025 Spotify Wrapped and have Drake in that top 5 again. I don't know, Jet. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like at the end of 2025 for our guy. Again, long, 2026, time heals all things, Jet. If Drake could just settle down and just take a chill pill and actually, let time do its thing, maybe it'll all work itself out at the end of the day. But, yeah. And that's like, you don't even have to, again, for people like us that just, I guess not everybody that grew up with Drake obviously has Drake as a major rotation player, but for people like us that do, like, it can be really easy for you obviously to rack up the minutes with him in your rotation just because of the amount of music that he's dropped. Obviously that's not a hot take. So that being said, I think you have to be really careful if you're trying to just, and we're not trying to keep him out of the top 10, top 20. Like, again, I'm not trying to cut him out of the rotation, but can we have him on that top 5 graphic, chat? I don't know. Not because this pod is sponsored by UMG and they're trying to demote his value. Don't put us in the next lawsuit, please. But, you just got to make an effort. You got to make an effort. And the Spotify algorithm is actually catching up a little bit as well, too, which is that, see, that's the thing. I can't tell if it's my personal rotation or I can't tell if is UMG whispering in Spotify's ear and saying, hey, maybe don't pump the algorithm so heavy. Pause to Drake's side, Maybe don't just, when it's like what song queues up next after this song, in your list of priorities. If Drake was at the top always for every song, maybe he's now like 6th, 7th. I don't, at this point, I can't tell. Maybe if we, threw an album or two back on and then went back to the main playlist, hit shuffle, and kind of see how it went, maybe it would just catch right back up and it'd be like, oh yeah, every other song is Drake. What are you gonna, he's just infesting Spotify again. It's all over the place. But who knows? Maybe it is true. Maybe they're actually being like, hey, type a little thing into the computer there, mess with the algorithm, and just get. And I don't think he's down that much, chat. Pause. But Kendrick did cross another streaming milestone, not just for him, but I think for just rappers in general. I wish I remember exactly what the numbers were. I don't think it was like, maybe it was the first time. Maybe it was just for Kendrick. I don't know. First time for him crossing 80 million or something. Because I would assume that people are not trying to take the role of the next academics and defend Drake. This is obviously not a defense. We're just, we're just stating the fact. Like, the numbers are still pretty good. But like we're saying, the playlist has not been as unintentionally for us, but we'll see. Maybe we'll have to report back to you in 2026 when he actually fully gets back into the rotation. Who knows? And if he's dropping an album again, in 2026. I guess there is a possibility that at some point in 2025 we could get the P&D and the Him and Party album. But I don't know, with the lawsuit, it just seems like a long shot. And you just know things take a long time in court. So you would look at it and go, yeah, I mean, they could have it easily cleared up by the end of the 2025, but it's like, oh no, it could, if he, and the thing is, it's like, at what point is he just going to back down and be like, it's over? Because he's either, so certain that he's going to win, or he has to just ride this out until he thinks that until UNG's going to cave, or they're going to just, magically find something that is going to turn on their case. And again, I don't know all the pieces of the case either, so I can't totally act like they have nothing to go against their side. Again, I don't know all the pieces. Maybe they do have a couple of things, but yeah, it's a good chance that it's drawn out. And I mean, most of the people in the industry have said as well too that, don't be shocked if you don't see the boy dropping music for a while. I guess maybe, the DSP is the whole thing. Who knows if he gets on, another streamer and leaks some music, another vlog. Who knows what the strategy is going forward. Because once, like we saw with the freestyle, and with anything, it can get taken down by UMG and other things, but once it's out there, it's out there. People screen grab it, people do the recordings, people repost it, and there will at least be some version of it available, whether or not it's, and I guess they could probably just, be taking those down as well too. But I guess, somebody will have it. It'll be able to still exist in the ether if it really, really needs to. If the Drake people get this song and they're like, oh man, this leaked version is the best thing ever now. The Drake's back. We need to, whether or not YouTube just keeps taking this down, just somebody keep reposting it. Just send it to everybody, We'll just keep replaying it on our own. Somebody just post it on Instagram, slide in the DMs. I'll send you a copy of the I don't know how good the song would have to be, but could be a little bit. Could be 2026. Could be 2027. Could be a minute before we see some new stuff. So, speaking of new stuff and speaking of Canadians dropping music. Oh, chat, water spill to start the pod. Luckily, there's only a couple of cords and they're safe, so no big issues outside of the fact that there's just a mini puddle on the floor now, but we should be good to go. But speaking of Canadians dropping music, of course, The Weeknd did drop. He dropped an album, chat. Whoa! 22 songs. I didn't know what to expect. There's been some delays. There's been some rightful delays, of course. Some delays that you can't blame him for. It's been, I think, shout out to NFR Pod. I think they said it was the longest stretch in the last couple of years since The Weeknd's dropped an album. So it's just, you never know. You never know. But we got up first thing this morning. Today was a rest day from the gym. So most days, it would be get up, go straight to the gym, have the album on while you're headed to the gym, whatever. But today it was get up, immediately throw it on the speaker, see what's going on, and 22 tracks later, Sunrise, chat, and it was what one of them was a glory experience. I don't know. Stay tuned later. Was it the Sunrise or was it the Weeknd album? Stay tuned. I think if you guys, did the same thing I did this morning, then pause. Then I'm talking about listening to the Weeknd album. Then maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, of course Denver just is immediately stomping on Philly. Shout out to Maxey, doing his best, gliding to the rim. And we need to keep an eye on Murray a little bit as well too. Obviously he's been cooking as of late, and the fact that he's at least dipped into the bag, Murray has played well enough this year to at least give Denver fans hope for the rest of the season, I think. I mean, there's a whole half of the season left. I guess he could really tank it out bad. And, we could have a real conclusion by the time we get to the playoffs and go, Jamal Murray is clearly not going to help the Nuggets win a title. But again, he's playing well. That's not what we're saying. We're just, saying, okay, that timeline's out there, sure, whatever. But at this point, even if he goes back to a little up and down and, saving himself, like whatever, maybe there's another ankle, who knows. But he's played well enough, I think, the last couple of games and had a good enough stretch to at least go, okay, we've seen the Nuggets be at least a peak version of themselves this year. With the bench that they have. Again, it's this year because they're still not the same depth of a team that they had when they won the finals and over the last couple of years. And I think, is Murray even like Murray's just played so well in the playoffs. I'm not counting him out again. So, we should not immediately backtrack on what we're saying. But, it's not quite 100%, I don't think, from from where it was at the last couple of seasons. But, for the peak that they can play for this year, and I think in the West, that could be still enough for sure with Jokic. And in the grand scape of the league, if they're going to win the West, I don't know if you're looking at the East at this point and going, anybody? Oh, okay, chat. This puddle is slightly bigger than I thought maybe it was originally. It's okay. We do have... I don't know why I didn't just throw a towel down originally. Pause. Okay, give us a second, chat. Oh, man. We got to clean up this spill, chat, live on air. Okay, I think we're good, chat. I think we're chilling. But anyways, yeah, shout out Murray. Of course, Westbrook, his contributions to the team have now been kind of ingratiated and worked in. And that's the thing. It's all kind of working together as well, too. Like, you're getting the Murray playing well, and Westbrook is still impacting. And Jokic is obviously the main sort of the main glue to all that. He's the main reason that it's still able to work. But regardless, it is working. They are playing better. They are playing well together. And they are a competitive team again. So they are taking care of business against the Sixers. That game is going to get switched very, very soon. Kelly Oubre, shout out. But, yeah, I guess they do have a couple more minutes. Let's get a quick box score here on the Raptors. I was looking at the Raptors roster recently, and I was like, man, it's still guys you like. But again, now that we're in trade season, and I've been kind of messing around in the trade machine quite a bit, it's like, is anybody going to trade for these Raptors guys? I think it might be kind of fortunate. They might not necessarily be sellers in the market this year. But Barrett taking all the shots, of course. Lonzo 0 for 3 to start. Lonzo's been like sub 40% so far this season. So I guess Dosunmu as well is 0 for 4. So outside of Vooch, nobody is necessarily cooking so far. It's just kind of a Vooch is torching everybody. Who's O Robinson, chat? Am I a bad basketball fan? Orlando Robinson? I was going to guess that. I mean, how many O names are Orlando, I guess? How many O names are there out there? Is there a Miami run with him? Where's he from, chat? Kelly Olynyk? What is it? Somebody give us the backstory on Orlando Robinson. It's like, okay, I obviously know this guy's an NBA player. I just have no idea how I know this guy or what team he's been on, or I have no memory of this guy in any game. This is no disrespect, sorry. Shout out. But Yeah, I just Orlando Robinson apparently has not stuck in the brain. Pause. But yeah, he's just getting worked by Vooch tonight apparently. Uh, Unfortunately, Chicago. We're not going to be well, maybe we will tap into that one at some point. I guess we'll see how the games go. But as of right now, we're not going to use our anti-Fed firewalls to try to tap into this local broadcast of this game. Oh, DeSumo subbed out. Yeah. 0 for 4. Not feeling it. Billy Donovan laying down the law right away. Establishing the standard, chat, for great performance in Chicago. But we do need to talk about something that we should have talked about on the last live stream that we did. And make no mistake, it was just there's a lot of stuff going on, chat. It was a big day. The Chiefs made the Super Bowl. Sam was celebrating. He was kind of hinting at his fears as well, too, going into the game. So, they're going to really celebrate and cherish just making the game. The Chiefs fans know how to celebrate at this point. They've had a couple of Super Bowl wins. They're good at it. They know. I think they really kind of know their team as well, too. And I think when you win 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, you can kind of be honest with yourself going into a Super Bowl. Where maybe if it's a 1v1, you're kind of like, we're still celebrating. And we still can be a little delusional about our hopes and about our chances to win the game. And not that if this was the Chiefs' first time in the Super Bowl, they should be delusional. Like, if this was Mahomes' first time in the Super Bowl, it would still be a pretty even match. Like, defenses are good, offensive line, whatever. But, excuse me, Chad. But regardless, the Chiefs fans are nervous right now. And, Sam was laying it out with Barkley. Sam was just definitely voicing his concerns. But, there, a lot to get sidetracked on the last live stream. But, speaking of trade season, it's not just trade season for the NBA. The WNBA is in off season. And, unfortunately, we have to say RIP to one of the big three of the Aces. Kansas City was a big three, I guess is a big three, going for a three-peat, and unfortunately the Aces were not able to repeat as champions for a third time, and they were not able to complete their trilogy. We'll see if the Chiefs are able to do the same. But apparently they weren't able to run back their big three either, because Kelsey Plum is now on the move. And again, you look at the numbers from last year, there's a couple field goal percentages throughout that you go, okay, is this maybe down a little bit from where, Jackie Young's at 33% in the regular season, where, you expect her to kind of be in the 40% range as a floor spacer for this team. And just her playmaking as well, too. I know you have Chelsea Gray out there, obviously, who is a point guard, and maybe that's kind of the redundant thing that they're kind of thinking about. And I guess, redundant is not necessarily the right word, but maybe that's the thing that they're thinking about, where they go, okay, can we sacrifice this part of the team to build this part of the team? Because, we have Chelsea Gray here, and we have, this was Kelsey Plum's page. We have a person that, especially, if healthy as well next season, can, and she's not a free agent, right, Chet? I'm assuming they're bringing her back, but we'll check that out in a second. But yeah, let's see if they have the trade actually listed on here. Oh, it ended up being a 6-teamer? Whoa. And I guess I didn't read any stuff about, like, if she had requested out as well either. Like, she ends up in LA, so seems kind of nice if you're Kelsey Plum, I'm sure. I guess I don't know if there's any, like, stuff about, requests wanting to go there. But, Jewel Lloyd ends up going to the Aces as well. The Storm get a 2025 first and a 2026 second to the Sparks. The Aces send a 2026 first to the Storm. The Sparks trade shout out. They trade a player to and a 2025 first to the Storm, and the Sparks trade a 2025 second to the Aces. I like it better when it's like listed as like what does the teams get? You know, what do they receive? Versus what do they give away? But this'll do, chat. This'll do. So picks moving around as well too. I don't know what the rules are for the WNBA for how far out you can trade your picks either. So I don't know if the Aces, if like, because you know obviously everything's just like, you know, sized down a little bit in the WNBA. That's not any that. Take that out of context, I guess, the way you want. But I just, you know, it's a smaller league, a smaller season. Like, I don't know if you know, there's less years that you can trade out a pick or whatever is all we're saying. Like, I don't know if this is the equivalent of the Aces doing what the Lakers would do in a situation like giving out like a 2031 or a 2039. Like, I don't know how deep they're going into their draft pick bag here to try to get these moves to go. But, you know, Jewel Lloyd going back the other way is you know, one, it's a great addition to the team, but like we're saying, it's a different look for the team, which is obviously if you're gonna make a move of this magnitude, dealing like a star player like Kelsey Plum, like that's gonna be the thing that you're gonna have to do. It's not just can we get a better, you know, you're not gonna get a better guard than Kelsey. Like again, Jewel Lloyd is a great guard. Like was she all WNBA last year? Let's see, second team. Oh no, she was an all-star. Same level as Kelsey Plum, chat. Shout out to our former Aces people. You know, once an Aces, always an Aces, of course, right, chat? But the Aces family, I feel like, is very like it definitely, like it, you know, it stays with you, chat, even if you move throughout the, I guess. Who's that one player that was like suing Becky Hammond or whatever? Like, I'm gonna get roasted and you're gonna be like, you're not mentioning her. But I feel like there's a lot of other players that maybe they've had a decent experience. I don't know, chat. But you know, you get kind of a score first centric player, whereas Kelsey Plum a little more point guardish, you know, a little more playmakery, and you get a little perimeter 1v1 shot creation. And Kelsey Plum as well too, like her shot creation out of the pick and roll as well is really special. Not that, you know, Lloyd is not capable of doing that, but maybe her ability, isolation, one-on-one in the perimeter, maybe is just a little bit of a different dynamic. And again, you kind of have a point guard there. Actually, we said we were going to look that up. We should see, just in case. Because was there some contract stuff with Jackie Young as well, too? Again, we're doing the best we can, chat. We're doing the best we can. Not just because we don't remember everything, but let's see. I would assume you would make this move with her under contract. Wait, did I spell it wrong? Don't cancel me twice, chat. Oh yeah, and who did they lose anybody in the expansion draft? Oh yeah, so they protected her as well too, of course, as you would, in one of the top 6 in that in those expansion drafts. But yeah, you know, again, you got Asia Wilson there, you got Jackie Young, who is still, again, like the off-ball shooting and the floor spacing that she provides when that's clicking. Like, that's still a different dynamic from than what Gray can give you. And then you can bring in Jackie Young as well, too. You're like, okay, or you bring in Jewel Lloyd, and you're just like, you know, go get a bucket when you need. What was she at? 19 a game the last couple of years? Or last year, and then she's been, what, like that 18 a game range? 17 a game for her career? Yeah, 20. I was going to say, I thought I remember seeing that last year, that she was up for like 24 a game. Yeah, second team all WNBA, 7th in MVP, 16, 17 a game, you know, each of that last couple of seasons as well. First team all WNBA in Seattle in 2021. And I think in 2023, Kelsey Plum, did she get MVP votes as well? This year, let's see. Or maybe that was the year before, 2022. Yeah, 2022 she was third in MVP voting, 181 points. Alyssa Thomas, 94 points in fourth place. But tough to see, chat. Tough to see. Great run. Obviously, I mean, all-time historic run. Back-to-back titles is insane. We know just that in sports in general, that's incredibly difficult to accomplish as a team. So that group forever is going to be like one of the great groups that, I want to say as a fan, WNBA fan respectively, because, I still feel like it's like the WNBA, if you're watching the WNBA now, it's like, better now. It's better sooner rather than later. Right, chat? Like, we got to be a fan at some point. So, we'll just start saying it. But, I don't want to, I'm not going to start, I'm not trying to say it like we've been fans of the WNBA since like 2010, It's not like we've been watching the WNBA our whole lives. But, again, when Becky Hammond got to the Aces and that Spurs lineage, and it's like, okay, we're keeping an eye on this team. This is the team, obviously, now that we're going to root for. Like, Becky Hammond is there. And, it's like, okay, well, Asia Wilson's there too. Like, it seems like it's probably a decent team to root for. And, so obviously it turns out to be bandwagon because, they're bringing in a great coach and they have a bunch of great players. But it is what it is, I guess. We'll have to live with getting roasted for being a bandwagon Aces fan. But, as a bandwagon Aces fan, it's a tough thing to see that core broken up. It's a tough thing. And again, like I'm saying, I can get it from we said over the football season. This football season really made us a cold sports fan, Shout out Anthony Richardson. We still have faith, brother. Get out there in the offseason and just keep putting in the work. I believe that, brother, I believe that you can be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Make no mistake. I think that you have shown your abilities. It's just, there's obviously some consistency and some things that need to be worked out. It's okay. It's things that everybody has to deal with. Just because you have to grow as a player, does not mean that that doesn't say anything about you in any way. It's just, that's the path that you have to take. You just have to get better in those steps, So shout out. Like, I still have faith in I just talked myself back into Anthony Richardson. Make no mistake. I'm a soft-hearted sports fan again, chat. But I guess it's again, it's that real. It's like, oh yeah, anything can really happen when, you when you put your trust in these athletes. Investing top picks and all this stuff for whatever. But again, I understand the switch up from an on the court standpoint, but the emotional side that I still have left is like, yeah, it's tough to see. It's tough to see. But for the Sparks, I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy to get that move. I think they did, give up some picks, right? What picks did the Sparks give up to get Kelsey Plum? So they're going to kind of expect to be a little bit good as well. Let's see. The Sparks traded a first, yeah. A first and a second in next year's draft. So they didn't trade anything in 2026, it looks like. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And again, they only give up, one player in the deal. Here, let's see. Does it have a pronunciation on here? Lee Yoayu. Shout out. Again, with all due respect, Lee Yoayu. Now a part of the Seattle Storm. So they are kind of investing in a rebuilding team. It is, an aggressive push right away. But again, you're bringing in a player of this level on the court, and then you're just bringing in a player that's amazing off the court as well. As well, too, chap. Make no mistake. Like, and she is seriously going to be great for a locker room. And again, a lot of times you get the veteran, and you would say that they can be a veteran to the young players because it's that's what they have left to offer. It's it's not with any with any disrespect. It's just that's the phase that they're in, where athletically they're not at peak competing years, but the knowledge is still there, so they can contribute to the younger generation in a certain way. Shout out Udonis Haslem. had a great run and got a jersey retired for being that type of guy. Was it Nick Collinson for the Thunder that got his jersey retired for that as well, maybe? A couple, if you're a good enough dude, they will retire your jersey. Like, make no mistake. Maybe, if there's a few title banners missing and they need to kind of bulk up the rafters as well, they'll do it. But, if you make great contributions to the team, regardless if they, if you directly affect team winning, regardless if it's on the court or off the court, it will get recognized. But you're able to get a player at the peak of their powers that's still able to do both. Like, Kelsey Plum's going to be able to help this team win right away, and she's going to be able to mentor the younger players. Like, that is a fun 3-player combination next year if everybody's healthy and everybody's cooking. If you have Kelsey Plum, Cameron Brink, and Rickea Jackson. And I mean, like right now we're getting Rickea Jackson in some unrivaled minutes, chat. Like, this is kind of like the off season. I guess it's not. Is it Summer League? I guess we do see a guy pop off in Summer League second year. They'll obviously sit him down if he starts playing too well. But you'll get a guy popping off and be like, oh yeah, he's gonna be something when we get into year 2. And Rickea Jackson playing well. Oh, Zaya Cook as well too, the South Carolina point guard, former South Carolina point guard. Shout out, she was a lot of fun to watch. Lexi Brown, of course, stud player. Hamby, really solid as well. That's going to be a fun mix. So what's your starting lineup? I guess, shout out Stevens. I'm not as familiar with the Sparks full roster as, obviously the Aces or some of the other teams we maybe were able to watch a little bit more of. But let's see. 9 a game, 35% from 3 this year. 7 rebounds as well, too. Okay. Love to see it. Can we go to the Sparks lineup here? Let's see who they're kind of running back. And who did they bring in as a coach as well, too? They brought somebody else in. It's not going to say. Let's see if it says on the old Wikipedia. They made a big splashy hiring, if I'm not mistaken. Come on, Wikipedia, pull through. You know what the 2025 Sparks are. The LA Sparks? Okay. I don't know how movies without even the title Sparks in it get brought up in a history over the LA Sparks, but somehow it happens, chat. Somehow. Oh, that just took it to the season. Oh, geez. We're just down the wrong rabbit hole, chat. Oh, I guess we could just see. Coaches. Current coach. Oh, a big reveal. Lynn Roberts. Shout out. They hired Lynn Roberts as their coach. So they got a new coach, a new star player, and a bunch of young talent to kind of support as well. So what's Lynn Roberts going to be running out there as a coach? What's Coach Roberts going to be running out there as a starting 5 this year? She's going to have, like we're saying, of course, Kelsey Plum. I mean, you're running out. I mean, you're going to have this is going to be a tough lineup to go against as well, too, if you're able to play all these people together. Because, like, Hamby and Rickea Jackson, like, there's versatility there. They can play kind of on, off the ball. They can be swing, so you can kind of have them all out there at the same time. With Cameron Brink, with Kelsey Plum. Like, that could be a pretty good 4. And then, Brown, Stevens, Burrell, with whoever. Again, Stevens making the big bucks. I guess you're running Stevens out, but even as a forward. And I think Lexi Brown as a guard as well, too, chat, is not necessarily a matchup liability. Let's see. Oh, okay, 5'9". Only 5'9", chat? Do we straighten up a little bit? Shout out Lexi Brown. Former 9th overall pick. But, Little Chicago run, Chet. She was in the Midwest in 2021 and we didn't know it. Oh, man. We missed out. But could have gone to a couple of games. Which we are going to have to pull up to that, or we're going to have to try to anyways, as long as the tickets haven't sold out to that Caitlin Clark preseason game. They're doing a Caitlin Clark preseason game in the home state in Iowa. So, we're going to have to do our best to try to make sure to go see that matchup. I'm sure, again, it being an Iowa matchup, it's not going to have to be a situation where... And is that the great thing about the WNBA? Like, it's WNBA preseason, and I feel like if I buy tickets right now, or as soon as they drop, like, Caitlin Clark will play in that game if she's able to. Will she play the entire game? I don't know. Against the Brazilian national team, so, I just don't know how that team is, I mean, obviously some of these international teams play the NBA in preseason, and the NBA does their business, and I'm sure international teams have played the WNBA in preseason before. I'm sure it's not a new thing. I'm just saying. I'm in terms of, seeing Caitlin Clark out there for the whole game, I don't know if we're going to get a competitive game and she's going to play in the... I don't even know if she's going to play in the game if it was a competitive fourth quarter. That's what I'm just saying. I just don't know. But I do feel like I would see her at least for, a half or two, right, chat? You're getting her for a quarter or so, at least. But, yeah, so shout out Kelsey Plum for the run in Vegas. Jersey retired, Instagram page. I guess we can't retire an Instagram page even if she gets traded, right? Once they retire as a player. I don't know how that's going to work, chat, but yeah, historic run. Obviously, of course, drafted by the team, but you hate to see it run. Yeah, especially it's, I guess it's the NBA thing as well, too. I don't know the corollary, how that's going to transfer for player movement. And I don't even know if the WNBA has the same kind of this person, like if the player team attachment's the sort of the same thing. I feel like it might even be a little bit more separate. I feel like the player city attachment is, obviously great and all that. I just, there was at least even a point where it felt like there was at least some, like the players and at least the organization were in lockstep a little bit about stuff that was going on. And now, it's just, as we see, it's not even a class split, I guess, in the NBA, though it really is, even if it's, big money that we're dealing with, like the money that the owners have and the money that the players have, it's still massively different. It's big numbers. Obviously, some of the owners, like, A-Rod is dealing with player money, but he owns, what, a couple of, I guess, I don't know how much of the team he owns at this point. Is that in a lawsuit as well? Are Glenn Taylor, Alex Rodriguez, and Drake all going to be in the courtroom together? Drake's like, A-Rod, what are you doing here? Not the first time we passed each other in this court. But Glenn Taylor, I guess you're in this mix too now. But there was a couple other moves as well too. A couple other big names. I think Alyssa Thomas got traded. Do I have any water left, chat, after the spill? Oh, we're cooking. And of course, I'm already prepared. Oh, we're leaking, chat. Pause. We have backup water, chat. We're not on the live stream unprepared. You know that. But let me see if I'm not tweaking. Oh, yep, I am. Okay. We'll have to go to the trade tracker and see. And Sabale just got traded as well. I believe that was today. Earlier today. So that's another move that has actually happened. Oh, Alyssa Thomas did get traded. Okay, here we go. And this is a better way to list the trades as well, too. Yeah, okay, so there's not as many picks going around as I had thought originally in that Kelsey Plum deal. So you see, everybody kind of gets a pick. The Aces with the... Getting a second... Number 13? I guess the picks are already set for this draft, so that's not bad. That's the first pick of the second round, right? Like, that's kind of a sneaky good pick. Jewel Lloyd in the 13th pick? 2025? I thought the lottery already happened. New York to Phoenix. So number 13, it says, is going to Phoenix. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. So yeah, number 12 is the one that's going to Phoenix from the Liberty. And then the first pick of the second round now goes to the Aces. That is kind of a nice pick. J.J. Quinterly? Is that related to West Virginia? Oh, that's got to be related to Javon Quinterly. Oh, do you got to take the Quinterly? Just invest in the basketball bloodlines. You know we love athlete extended families for all sports chat. But that makes that trade a little bit, again, R.I.P. Kelsey Plum. But the other half of our, the cold-hearted brain chat, pause. The irrational Mamba mentality, we need to do anything to win a title for the Aces. It's like, oh, it's an interesting move. But, and number 9 as well, too. Kelsey Plum and 9. I mean, even if it's a win for the Ace, it's hard to say, pause, who the biggest winner of this deal is. And I guess you have Seattle. So Seattle is flipping 2 and 9 with the Sparks. And the Sparks get Kelsey Plum by giving up this second round pick. I mean, I if you look at it from the Sparks standpoint, I mean, you're not going to try, with all due respect to whoever you get at 13, at least let's say, year one, you're not, and this player's putting up 30 a game? Who do we just land ourselves in this mock draft, chat? Does Twin Towers, Asa Wilson, and Ayoka Lee out of Kansas State? Ayoka Lee, her per 36 is 30 a game. That makes a little bit more sense. Again, not that she's not capable of putting up 30 points a game. We're just saying that even in men's, just the amount of time, like, it's like, okay, we have to see, like, the efficiency. Like, it's just, you got to take a look at that, chat. Again, I guess you're not taking a look to doubt it. I guess, we're just taking a look to see what's going on. But 16 a game, which is, obviously crazy. 65% from the field. Even still, I guess if they still have it all listed in the per 36. So it's not like this 30 a game doesn't jump out. It's not like they just have her listed here and then it's like, oh, well, now we're doing this unfairly. Like, no, her 30 a game still jumps out amongst everybody else that is on this list. This is crazy. They get the best scorer in the draft at 13. I guess Paige Becker's, best overall player. But Ayoka Lee, best bucket getter? If you need a bucket, is Paige Beckers, do you need Paige Beckers to be setting up for Ayoka Lee? In the post? Little 1v1? Do they just have to take Lee because it's like she's the only player that can take down Asia Wilson? I guess, Brianna Stewart just did it this year, but going forward, chat, Asia Wilson's got it for the rest of the years. So we're not worried about anybody else in the league now, but the new people entering the league, you just don't know. So what a move. What a move. And then who does that get Seattle? Because, yeah, outside of Paige Beckers, Olivia Miles from Notre Dame, point guard, 5'10". Okay, another big guard as well, too. We're seeing the, size revolution. Is that crazy? That's a pause. We're seeing that all over, chat. Just a 23, 5-5 from Paige Beckers. In 2.5 steals? Jesus, chat. Jesus. Settle down, Paige Beckers. But, yeah, we should actually mention this other move here. Which now stacks the Mercury up, because I guess I don't know what they were dealing with in terms of free agents. Like, is Griner going to be returning to this team? Because if you have Alyssa Thomas and Brittany Griner, like, to me, that makes sense to bring them both in there because now you're building on a strength. And you're giving up good guards as well, too, with Rebecca Allen and Cloud. But, yeah, you did acquire Cooper as well, too, last year. Or, off-season, whatever. But, last season, going into the season, whatever. I don't remember exactly, I guess, trade deadline, but at some point in the offseason, they acquired her. Her and Cunningham is definitely going to be a front-heavy backcourt for sure. And you bring in now Alyssa Thomas. So was Griner a free agent? Are we not going to have Twin Towers in Phoenix, chat? And Taurasi's a free agent, but Taurasi's retired, right? 42. So Griner, is she a free agent or is she just not re-signed? Is she going to be on the market, you know? Another another bidding war for Brittany Griner, chat? Let's see. You got to run that back. Plans to sign with the Atlanta Dream? Oh, and Sabali went to the Mercury. So like I said, Sabali got traded. I guess I didn't realize what team it was because I just saw the name. I just saw that she got... I saw Sabali and just got immediately Star Trek, chat. And just couldn't process the rest of the information. But, man, the Mercury loading up. So that's tough that Griner is not able to be a part of that core, chat. Griner announced the move on video on Instagram. So, well, I guess we'll check out the Atlanta Dream in a second. But, yeah, I guess if you're going to lose the backcourt playmakers as well, too, with Cloud and Allen, the ability to just replace those right away with Sabali. Let's see, was that move even on the trade tracker here? Is there just rumblings of that one? I guess this probably lists them when they go official. Because, yeah, that Alyssa Thomas trade was the 28th. Yeah, like, those trades we should have mentioned on the last stream. But let's see, chat. Is this trade on X? The one thing that X is still can still use it for, finding trade information beforehand, before it actually hits the official. Ooh, shout out Sabali trending. Love to see it. NBA, WNBA, in the mix. The list is not listed here. But we do get a big 3 graphic. Shout out, of course, the new Mercury Big 3 with Sabali, Thomas, and Kalia Cooper, which is a powerhouse 3. That is a crazy combination. Oh. Shout out Kendra Andrews. The trade between the Mercury Wings and Fever. Oh, no Caitlin Clark in the trade, though, of course. So, settle down, chat. Phoenix gets Sabali. Kalani Brown. That's kind of a nice move as well, too, I think. Sveji Uzin. Dallas gets Ty Harris, Nalisha Smith via the Fever. And the rights to Micaiah Herbert Harrigan. And the number 8 overall pick from Indy. And Indy gets Sophia Cunningham in the 19th pick. Oh, okay. Wow. Look at this, chat. So we're figuring this out in real time. We are figuring this out as we go. Oh, I guess. So close, chat. We want the Mercury. So Cunningham is going to be joining Caitlin Clark on the Indiana Fever. And I believe she's a good 3-point shooter as well, too. Yeah, 38% from 3 for her career. 6 field goal attempts a game, and 4.5 of them are 3-point attempts. So, yeah, you're bringing in that floor spacing. You're providing Caitlin Clark with some shooting, giving her the ability to play make. But, you know, that does kind of fit that Harden Eskimo as well, too, that we were kind of saying with her, where, you know, Cunningham's not a secondary playmaker. Like, it's a secondary shot maker, but not necessarily, you know, and again, maybe I guess from what we know, maybe she's got more ability to run the second unit than we realize. That could be totally possible. But, yeah, to me, this is, you know, spacing, shooting, and the rebounding number is good as well, too. I mean, 15 and 7 per 100 possessions. What was that per game? I mean, yeah, 8 and 4, 27 a game. So back to the third parties per 36. She's a 10 and 5 as a starter on 37 a game, 37% for 3. So I kind of like the move. And again, with Caitlin Clark, you know, I guess I don't know if you need to be competitive right away, but, you know, the WNBA as well, too, you do get the players a little bit more in their prime because they do have to play the couple more years of college. So now that was necessarily, like, lengthen the amount. Like, you have to go all in because you only have so many years. It's just you can go all in quicker because, you know, they may be more ready to compete right now. We saw Caitlin Clark near the end of last year as well really start to turn a corner and start to become one of the more impactful playmakers in the league. And again, just that playmaking surrounded with the shooting, like that's going to make the team better alone. And then as Caitlin Clark continues to get better as a shot maker herself, I mean, that's going to be the ultimate thing that continues to unlock the team. But yeah, definitely a win now move because what are we looking at? Number 8. So an international prospect, Anissa Morrow out of LSU, would have been kind of a fun pick if she's there at 8. But that pick will now be made by the, let's see, who gave that one up, chat? Oh, that's on Twitter. Dallas. So the Wings now in full rebuilding. Oh, man, a good move for the Wings as well, too. So, yeah, you're going to have the number 1 and the number 8. So you don't need the number 8 to package up because you've already guaranteed yourself Paige Beckers. But you're going to get yourself another spot. Oh, yeah. We're not going to just going to ignore the forfeited Aces pick. But shout out. Unfortunately, no Sabale. I'm assuming it's a win now thing, right? If they're kind of in rebuild mode with that number 1 pick. It doesn't really, Kendra Andrews doesn't really say, like, you know, Sabale request to leave out because of wanting to win now. But she did request to leave out. So this is definitely a winner move for her, for sure. Definitely a great destination to wind up at. And I think good value is back well, too. You do get number 19 if you're Indiana. So, ooh, shout out. The Michigan guard. You love to see it. But was it those 3 that I was thinking of? Sabale, Alyssa Thomas, and then Kelsey Plum. I think those are the big moves on the board so far. And the Sabale one, yeah, I guess was not fully listed yet. Oh, here we go. Breaking news, chat. Fresh in. Yeah, Kalane Brown. I feel like she's another contributor as well. It's like old school NBA days. You're like, man, you can get all these pieces in a trade. 58% from the field. Yeah, 13 minutes a game. 5 and 3 in 13 minutes. So per 36, 15 and 8 on 58% from the field. So yeah, I mean at 27, chat, there's some potential there. Shout out. Unfortunately, the Aces thing didn't work out, but you know, it happens, chat. Happens to the best of them. So do we need to do a quick free agent check as well? So I want to see who else. If Grinder's out there, who else is out there, chat? Who else is available? Not that I would assume the Aces are available to get anybody. Is Taurasi retired? Is she not? I thought this was going to be her last season. Farewell season. Oh, yeah, Wheeler, who I guess, you know, maybe a little on the older side, but shout out Wheeler. I guess we're talking only sports terms, Miss Wheeler. But, you know, she was a great veteran presence for that team last year. So any team would be great to have her. Agumbawale, free agent. So free agency must not totally be open yet then. I guess if Griner plans to sign with the Dream, but that's not official, When's that period? Should we look that up? When is WNBA free agency? Let's see. Oh. We'll just go with it and see if the autocorrect gets it. Oh, yeah, we were too far off. That's crazy. I guess, do I even make an excuse, chat? Do I even say that the keys stick on here sometime? It doesn't even matter. Even if they do, we should know that and just have adjusted accordingly by now. So, again, doesn't matter. But January 21st, front offices are able to do deals. Did I read that right? WNBA contracts cannot be finalized or official until Saturday, February 1st. Oh! Okay, so yeah. Tomorrow, we might have a flurry of moves. Who knows? Bonner's a free agent as well. Vandersloot, Brianna Turner, Kia Nurse, Alicia Clark, DeShields, Tiffany Hayes, who I guess, they had to convince her to return to the team, so I don't know if she's available, but she is a free agent, chat. Trinity Carter, if you need the Dylan Brooks of the NBA, chat, shout out. WNBA. But there's some names here. Who has the cap space? Where's Agumba Wale going? Chat, give us your opinions on where Agumba Wale will be headed in free agency. Will she just return to Seattle? They do have the cap space. Ooh, Golden State? Agumba Wale, go to our mistress team, the Valkyrie. Help build that young team up there for a little bit. The Sparks with 570 in cap space? Again, I don't know how many players you need on the books and what their roster is looking like here. So I guess they don't have the Kelsey Plum number in totally yet. But it does look like... Whoa, chat. Sorry about that. But it does look like they have a near full roster. So it's not like they have to use that money to round out the rest of the team. So I don't know. Agumba Wale to the Sparks? Are we kind of going to be a little interested in the Sparks? Agumba Wale to the Fever? The Fever with some money? I mean, that could be a crazy team. Oh, when we look up at halftime, Philly's down by 4. Maybe the jinx for Philly was us watching the game. We should have paid attention. The Denver bench, are we worse than they thought? Oh, Oubre taking Jokic off the dribble. Murray, we'll do a box score check on that in a second. Get a little update. Get a little refresh, chat. But hey, at least we got something entertaining. And look at, I mean, the WNBA totally distract us. I mean, Wemby and Giannis are playing right now. And, we're trying to figure out if Agumba Wale is going to go to the... I mean, there's a couple of... And I don't know totally how it works, but again, I'm just looking at the numbers that they had previously. So it was like 200, 300,000. Like, does that mean Indiana could sign a couple of players? Does that mean that the Liberty actually have $700K to work with? Also with, Ionescu and Brianna Stewart and Jonquel Jones? And they could bring in another player? Is what you're saying? Sabale, Ionescu. Oh, wait, was Stewart a free agent? Where was Stewie listed on here? Did I just scroll past Stewie on the free agent list? No, Vandersloot. Okay, I'm just blind, chat. What did the New York Liberty do with Brianna Stewart? Oh, okay, qualifying. So I guess it is some of these teams just don't have the full salary cap number quite locked in yet, because some of these qualifying offers have not been officially accepted. But there might be a couple of good teams for her to go to if she wants to kind of load up. Because that's the nice thing about a 12-team, 13-team league, 14-team league, if they expand one more time, is, you can't really get, like, the Durant criticism. Like, yeah, it's like, just jump to whatever team you want. There's 14 teams. Like, they're all going to be stacked. There's, getting to be enough good WNBA players at this point. Like, we're seeing expansion. But, of course, we're also, still to the, it still needs to expand quite a bit to where we start having, like, the real spread of talent to where, and I guess, it's all, they'll adjust accordingly as they need to, so it'll all be fine. But, yeah, it's like, you have the freedom to just go wherever you want right now and not get judged. But, yeah, shout out to a couple of WNBA moves. Like I said, we got to catch up on some hoops, but we've also got to react to the Weeknd album, make no mistakes. So let's take a quick break, and then we will hurry up and talk about the Weeknd's newest album. Hurry up tomorrow, the end of the weekend, chat. The end of the weekend. R.I.P. It will be a new era for our guy Abel, but he gave us one last banger for the road, so we'll talk about it up next. Okay, chat, we're actually back. The last puddle from the spill earlier is actually cleaned up, so I think we're officially good to go now, outside of just throwing that towel that is aka a blanket into the dryer. But other than that, we'll be good to go. But maybe while we're just doing these chores, chat, that we've made for ourselves, we'll be bumping this Weekend album, because make no mistake, I think it's going to be in rotation for a while. I mean, it's no spoiler warning, I think, to say that it's a good album. I mean, it feels like that's a consensus at this point. It feels like we're kind of on a hot start for the year, chat, to be honest. And to be honest, I don't know, America, we're going to have to send some better competition in 2025. Right away in January, you know, Central C, the UK, dropping a banger. The Weekend, Canada, of course, you know, we expect quality from the Weekend at this point. Central C, a hit maker, but still his debut project. There was at least some question marks. Not that we don't, not that we don't want him to drop a good project. Obviously, I'm just saying, as a competitive guy, America. I guess again, it's still early on. It's not even that we need to step up our game. It's just that we need to see the releases and see what we're going on. Oh, look at that, chat. Just like we were talking about earlier with the WNBA as well. The bottom line for ESPN reads that Nneka Ogwumike will be re-signing with the Seattle Storm. So there you go. I guess, you know, we'll see how they're able to retool with some of this young talent as well, to getting this pick, this number 2 pick, because especially if you're bringing back Ogwumike, you know, not that you would just lose that player for nothing. You know, we know in the NBA terms, chat, you got to at least re-sign and trade, you know? You can't just let her walk for nothing. But, you know, you're going to need a lot from that number 2 pick, I guess, to replace what Lloyd's able to give you. But, yeah, like we were saying, you know, it's a high bar to set. The world is setting a high bar. DeepSeek, the Weekend, you know, there's just a lot of things right now that are shaking up the American market and American stock and the American, and just the perception of American products. So, you know, is little baby ChatGPT, is the Weekend DeepSeek? Maybe Central C's DeepSeek, because he's newer on the scene. The Weekend, again, he's established. Like, again, with all due respect, shout out to the little baby. I mean, the little baby. Shout out to little baby. Like, you know, is he the man competing with the Weekend? Like, nobody's competing with the Weekend. Nobody is, at least putting up the streaming numbers that our man is doing, outside of Bruno Mars and Taylor Swift. Are those the only 3 people right now streaming over 100 million? And Bruno Mars has climbed up to like 150. He continues to just break a new streaming milestone every time he drops a song. It seems crazy. It's like, okay, every time he drops a song, the Bruno Mars fans are just, you know, in love with it. But then it's like, you look at the streaming numbers, it's like, wow. The Sexy Red feature, 50 million more fans? You know, I don't know if he climbed up that much. He was obviously, you know, like 130, 120. He was way up there already. But yeah, Bruno Mars continues to be the real king of pop right now, at least in terms of Spotify. Just the real king of, just, I guess, music in general, too, like we're saying. Number 1 artist overall. Shout out, though. We're actually finally tapping into Spurs versus Milwaukee. Spurs are up by 1. Spurs up by 1. Wemby versus Giannis. We haven't looked at the box score yet. Maybe Castle showing out today. Maybe it's Chris Paul. Castle swinging the ball to Vassell. Vassell misses, so maybe it's not Vassell. But do we just fire up this album and just go through this album, honestly? And just do a little quick listen reaction? We might. Oh, man. Okay, wait. I'm going to let me switch real quick. The screen that Spurs... Let me switch the Spurs-Bucks game onto a different screen. And then we can fire up the Weekend album and give a live reaction. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to listen to it live on the actual pod, of course. But I guess we're not going to go mute for the full song. We're not going to need to re-listen to the full song. I guess we're not going to do a full, you know, lyrical breakdown of the Weekend album, I guess. But we'll give the songs a listen and see. Because I wanted to try doing it like this too. You know, we've just kind of talked about it before. But again, since the YouTube thing kind of makes it a little more interesting with the copyright. Like, maybe just put like a grace period on it, like the first couple hours. We can play the music. I guess you'd have to go back and mute everything. It could get pretty crazy if you have to do something like that. But there needs to be a way. Apparently, you were able to do it with Not Like Us and with Euphoria and with these other songs, and I'm sure you've made a lot of money off of those. So, do you need to make all the money? I guess you do, right? I guess they've got to make every penny they possibly can. Oh, of course, now we're going to run into loading issues, chat. Now it doesn't want to work. Maybe Wembanyama. I mean, it's Wemby versus Giannis. There's a good chance that it's just breaking the internet right now. This game is actually breaking the internet. It can't load. This game is in such high demand. Oh man, 360p. What is this? Pixelation. Okay. I think we're screwed in, chat. I think we're good to go. Okay, weekend. Hurry up tomorrow. Again, like I said, I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit skeptical. Not because I doubted the weekend's ability. I guess, I'm going to make the case for justifying why I did. But, I mean, you look at the track list, you go, okay, 22 songs. But I had also heard that this was going to be a song track album as well, too, to a film, which, in general, can be fine. I mean, 21 Savage did that last year with American Dream. That was the soundtrack album, right? Was that a film, a documentary? I got to be honest. I didn't see American Dream, so I better go throw that in the old IMDb watch list after this. But yeah, again, it's like, are you building this album to be an album experience, or are you building it to be fitting for the film that you're going to film and something that correlates with the visual experience and the sonic experience is just the backing to something? Because that's different, If he's going to make the album as the background to a movie, like, who knows? Obviously, like we're saying, you can get Black Panther too. Like, there can be good versions of it. Like, I've been recently, like I said a couple live streams ago, I've been just replaying that Black Panther album a ton lately. And chat, the opening track, the piano chords and the piano just, I don't know, what do you call it? Piano riff, chat? We don't know musical terms, but on the opening track is just crazy. But that whole album has just a ton of replay value. I've, again, really loved going back to it recently. So I don't know why I should be skeptical after just literally replaying that one. But I guess I was, chat. I guess I was. Maybe it was the Childish Gambino one? I don't know. And even that one still had quality within it for sure. But that one, there was just kind of a craziness to it. And it was like, when you kind of walked away from that one going, okay, like, it's, if you see the film, maybe it makes sense as an album experience. Like, there's good songs within it, like we're saying, but, as a correlation song to song total thing, is it, like a perfect A+. Like, there's a lot of quality in there, like we're saying, but, the weekend, man, I gotta say, and I don't know if it was just, we were just giving him the benefit of the doubt to start the day or what, chat? Or I don't know if it was just the fact that, you open up with, I mean, this is definitely a Michael Jackson song, right, chat? This is definitely a Michael Jackson sample. Wake Me Up, the opening track for this song. We'll get a confirmation here on whether or not that's actually true. But, who are we looking for the next MJ4 more, chat? Like, who does that conversation revolve around more? Does it revolve around Michael Jordan, or does it revolve around Michael Jackson more? Because I do actually feel like it maybe is Jordan a little bit more. And that's because maybe we don't quite have like a full-on ESPN for... I guess we have versions of it. We just don't have one on TV yet like that is shifting the narrative in that kind of a way. Like we're saying, shout out the NFR pod. I'm sure they're going to get there. Like, they'll grow, but pause. But, just at this state in the game, we're saying. At this state. Oh, is it not on this website yet? Okay, whosample.com doesn't have the weekend quite up there. And this album gets pretty sample heavy as well too, so that's gonna be a fun one to dive back into. But let's see if it's on Wikipedia. But again, as a top pop star in the game, The Weeknd's gonna get some comps to a guy. There's gonna be some comps to another big pop star. And to be able to, directly pay homage to him as well too in this track is great. Okay, it doesn't have it listed on here as a sample. It only has 3 samples listed on here. Given Up on Me, Niagara Falls, and Hurry Up Tomorrow. So again, they could have, you can obviously make a beat that sounds like a sample. That's not crazy, chat. But it's just like a lot of times if it sounds like a sample, they're usually using one. So maybe this just needs to continue to, get worked out. Again, this album dropped, less than 24 hours at this point. But, I mean, definite MJ Thriller vibes. I guess I saw on Twitter that this was a Thriller sample. I'm afraid to turn the volume up because we're gonna get a copyright strike. Okay, sorry. I guess there's just gonna be a couple of mute sessions on this album reaction here. I guess unfortunately for the pod people, it might not be ideal. But again, Spotify's got the video now, so for the Apple people, I guess shout out the skip button for a couple of seconds. So again, we're not gonna full mute for the entire songs, but I just get a quick replay of these songs. But again, we're not losing the stream. We're not gonna get copyrighted again, chat. We're already a couple of strikes in at this point, so it's not even the stream we're worried about. It's the channel that's on the line. Just give us a second. Okay, I went back to the beginning of it because I was like, wait a second, was there like some MJ, Thriller footsteps or a door or something, the opening to the song? But I didn't see it. Maybe that person on Twitter was just tweaking, chat. There's a good chance that, who knows? How come that one wasn't community noted? Do we need to get up there and do our due diligence as a citizen? Oh, Giannis just bowling over Wembanyama. We looked over at the wrong time, chat. Oh, but is that Wemby taking the charge? I think they're reviewing this for a charge. That's got to be a charge. Offensive foul. Can we call a flagrant on that in 2025? Lowering the shoulder? Get him out of here. Oh, no. Giannis is shooting free throws. I think that was just I think the Spurs broadcast was just a little upset about that one. I don't think Mitch Johnson was challenging that in any way. But shout out to Mike Dean as well, too, who handled a lot of the production on this album. You see Mike Dean's name on an album, and you know these songs are going to hit home for sure. But the synthy, poppy-ish vibes for this opening track, too, it carries you in from the Dawn FM vibes as well, which I know if we skip to the end track, they were saying that track was fading perfectly into the opening track from Trilogy. So again, as this album is the last album of the Weeknd saga, you can kind of like do this full circle replay, I guess, with the Weeknd timeline and go start to finish, pause, and just get that last track straight into the opening Trilogy track. But yeah, I guess unconfirmed MJ sample on Wake Me Up, chat. But like we're saying, definitely just peak pop vibes, peak pop bliss for sure. The Weeknd off to a hot start on track 1. And then you get Metro Boomin on track 2, which do I have this in shuffle? Whoops. Also, clean version? I guess maybe we should, just to be extra safe, chat. If we're already going to be towing the line with some of these copyright stuff, I feel like I got to talk fast and talk kind of loud, talk over this song, because we're not taking any chances. But the whole soundscape and vibe of this album, chat, is I think really the thing that stands out for this album, because maybe if you're going to pull off a 20-song album, like, that's going to have to be the thing. I guess, there are 20-song albums that don't have a wandering soundscape that is just like, we're going to give you 20 hits and, different songs and different variety. But, you think of a song or an album like Life After Death is not doing the soundscapey thing that this album is doing. But it's like, okay, yeah, you're still going to get 20 massive songs. 20 plus. Wemby with the block on Giannis. Giannis crumpling to his knees. Oh, Connaughton on Vassell with immediate revenge. Oh, yikes, chat. Cover the face. You hate to see it. Get your block. Get that last block in January, because block is in one day. Connaughton will not be able to do that in a little bit yet. But so like we're saying, you can obviously have just 20 hit songs on an album, but maybe for The Weeknd specifically too, like, at this point, that was definitely key to its success. And again, just looking at the immediate sort of reaction to the album, I mean, and again, as we're early in the year, like, who knows, just we'll see what 2025 has in store for the rest of the year. It could be a really, really stacked year. But, I mean, the amount of positive, just in the moment recognition of the quality of this album is like, okay, it's kind of that first step to classic status. Because, I mean, there are obviously two ways to get there. The first one is, obviously over time, just it gets acknowledged as, the great quality of work that whatever it is, and it can just get held in that high regard. And then there is that in the moment, it was the impact, the success, it was regarded. And then, of course, over time as well, too, it ages. It's not like you need that in the moment thing to be considered a classic, but it can definitely be a thing that can, help your case in being, maybe like a tiebreaker situation. Or it can be a version of a classic in itself, a classic sort of in the moment type album. But again, the in the moment classic thing is kind of happening for this project. And again, The Weeknd as a massive star is still going to probably put up insane numbers, and it's going to be an album that is just going to be an album that you're going to hear everywhere as well too. And people are just going to be playing. It's going to be finding its way into like the playlist that we have at our work that just never updates at the restaurant and just never has new songs in it is just, it's going to have these new Weeknd songs in it, because again, it's The Weeknd. Like that's a playlist that will just put the new Bruno Mars songs in. Like, you don't get any new songs, but if Bruno Mars drops a song, it's like, okay, it'll put the new Bruno Mars song in there. The Weeknd's another one. I guess Taylor Swift. Like we're saying, the big three: Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift, and The Weeknd. But what he's able to accomplish from variety and from the journey he's able to just take you on with the soundscape is, I mean, really incredible at this track. Because like we were saying, he's starting off and you're feeling like you're listening to Thriller in this first album, in this first track with Wake Me Up. And then you get that Metro Boomin production on that second one, which, this song is not necessarily like a club banger like Heartless is, for sure. Like, I mean, it's obviously a Metro Boomin production, but it is in that kind of more, darker vibes of that R&B hip-hop-y mix that The Weeknd will go to. But again, it's still in that sort of pop-ish, popular, this is for everybody type vibes. Then you get the Sao Paulo singing after, the I Can't Effing Sing interlude as well, too. Then you get the Until We're Skin and Bones interlude. And then Baptized in Fear, which was another last-minute single that had dropped on this, right before the album came out on Thursday night. And this feels, this is more that R&B, of course, laid back Weeknd production. I get, not laid back, but not going with that as a straightforward Metro Boomin production. But, just that more classic Weeknd singing vibes, but still had the feeling of like a a single, trying to go for, kind of a bigger sort of song. But uh and then I would say even into the Open Hearts as well. Here, let me actually get a refresh on Open Hearts and see. Is this when the album kind of started to pivot, or is it because the next song, Reflections Laughing, is when we get the Travis Scott feature. So at that point, the album has shifted into a different part in what we're saying in the soundscape. This is where you kind of see him start to accomplish that. But maybe Open Hearts. Let me give it a re-listen here. No, yeah, we're still in the pop vibes for the weekend. We're still going for, a little bit more of the synthy sort of backing to the instrumentation, and then you get the opening night uh, song as well too, which is kind of like a mini interlude on there, and then yeah, we get the pivot like we're saying with the Travis Scott features. So you get this like poppy sort of, like we're saying, sort of the Dawn FM sort of vibes from this first half of the album. And this is where I was thinking with, and this is, I guess, just what I've been thinking about with the classic albums in general. And not just, what constitutes like a classic album. Because, obviously, like we're saying, a lot of factors go into it. How it ages over time, how it's received in the moment can be a part of that. But, the status of the person can matter as well, too. Like, yes, we have one-hit wonders, and yes, we have classic albums, or we have people that just don't have, like, massive discographies. Like, Lauryn Hill's only dropped a couple of albums, but those albums are classics. Or, you have guys that dropped tons of albums, and, a couple of them make it out as classics. But just as I've been kind of shuffling through and kind of ranking, because, you get these Spotify playlists, you can get to messing around, you can kind of get to adjusting and ranking. Like, you can kind of, Spotify didn't realize that their playlist is actually like the best ranking system online, with the way you can just easily shuffle things up and down. We need like an NBA version of Spotify where we can just have a player ranking where it's just that easy to just ringer, just take, you literally work with Spotify. There's an idea, like your top 100, just take the Spotify playlist technology. I mean, you literally have it with your QB ranking technology. Like, can we just get that expanded with more players and then expanded to more positions as well too? Pause. More sports, cross it over into the NBA. You want to do a baseball one for the baseball fans and feel like you need, I know DEI is not, it's not popular right now, chat, but can we get baseball in the mix? A little sports diversity? Football and basketball dominating everything. Baseball, don't forget about baseball. Yeah, we don't want to lose that at all. But like we were saying, the status of the guy matters. And I feel like often the album that you get just initially that kind of breaks them through into that, oh, they got one status, is the album that kind of gets considered a classic over time. And it is subjective and kind of can be what you can lean toward. But, you start going through and you're like, okay, Kendrick's like, is it Good Kid, Mad City, or is it To Pimp a Butterfly? And, there's a lot of people that are going to say it's To Pimp a Butterfly, but it's like, okay, come on. It's actually like, it's Good Kid, Mad City. It's that first, and, Section 80 is the first debut studio album, but it's that first big album, that first major success, even though, of course, like we're saying, T-Pap and the other albums that followed have all been, incredibly successful. Like GNX might be the most successful in terms of the way, that, I guess, opening week, it's not his biggest number, but also just in terms of how it debuted in the streaming era and the impact of that. Like, maybe it's just his most replayed album going forward. But it's like, no, Good Kid, Mad City is the Kendrick album if we had to take one. Like, Ready to Die is the Biggie album. Illmatic is the Nas album. Like, Reasonable Doubt is probably the Jay-Z album. Like, it's kind of all these initial albums and kind of this, it's like the moment where you discover the guy in that way. And, I guess we can still kind of have conversations for what that is in the newer era. And, you get a guy like Tyler as well, too. Like, it's debated what his classic is. Is it Igor? Is it Call Me If You Get Lost? Will it end up being Chromacopia? Like, maybe you say it's Flower Boy. And honestly, in the case that I'm making, like, it is a pretty good case for Flower Boy, but I would say it's probably Igor as his classic album. And if you want to say that the Igor Call Me If You Get Lost Chromacopia is like the, big trilogy for Tyler in terms of the, heavy hitter peak albums. And again, he can continue to drop 3 more albums, but it's just like that feels like a nice trilogy. Like Igor would be the first one that, and obviously Flower Boy is the first one that broke him out into that new status in that new way. And that might be the one that honestly I might be wrong. Like Tyler fans may consider that the classic Tyler album. And as I go back to that more, like I'm not against saying that is the classic album either. It's just I love Igor and regard the quality of that one really highly. But I just think it's harder for artists to drop that quote unquote classic album later in their career because you kind of know what to expect from them as well too, and it can get a little not stale but maybe repetitive. Maybe diversifying the sound is a little challenging going forward, and it's just like that again, like we're saying, that first initial thing is always amazing, and that's something that's awesome about Kendrick as well too. And we'll talk about Kendrick actually more Sunday night. I think about it too because we got make no mistake, people, we got the Grammys on Sundays, so we got no sports but we got awards. And didn't we have awards this week? Did we have the NFL awards? We had NBA All-Stars as well too. Make no mistake, Chad, we're the most behind news sports pod that there is out there. But what do? We were listening to the Weeknd album today, so I guess we can look up the All-Stars here in a second. We can, like I said, we can always look them up, Chad. It's a nice thing about having the internet for now. But just that initial thing is always the thing that can definitely stick out and definitely be the most impactful and the most memorable thing that an artist is able to produce. But, on the other hand, you get a guy like The Weeknd who you could argue has, versions of classics in his catalog already. And I know, the trilogy classic obviously those 3 albums got combined into the trilogy compilation, and that's kind of an interesting one because it's like those 3 albums separately, it's like, them together, is it too much to be a classic? But them separately, is it not enough to be a classic? Like, that's kind of a tough one. And then, with Starboy and After Hours and with Dawn FM, like, there's obviously quality, and like we're saying, massive success with the streaming and with the numbers and all that stuff. But just in terms of, the albums that are in the conversation for the great albums, like even in and not even just, like we talk about mostly the hip hop stuff that we listen to here, but, just even in the bigger sphere of like the pop albums that drop and the best albums and stuff, like, has The Weeknd actually ever won a Grammy for the best album? Let me look, chat. I mean, there's no way he hasn't been nominated. Again, like I lock in mostly on the one category. So I need to go back and just do a quick scan through the history of like the actual best albums and best songs and the actual main categories, and just work that into the subconscious, chat. Just every now and then just scroll through the list, go be like, oh yeah, in 2002 it was, who was it in 2000? Was it Outkast in 2002, or were they 2001? I don't know. Mariah Carey, somebody would have won. Again, we're talking like best overall album. I don't have the list down like that, chat. But let's see the Weeknd's Grammy history here real quick. I'm sure the man has a stacked award history. Oh, he's won 4. Did he get some song wins in there? I feel like he's had to have picked up some song wins for sure. Maybe a feature or 2. Let's see. A couple of BETs, some billboards. But for the actual Grammys itself, oh yeah, so Beauty Behind the Madness. I guess that yeah. That would be for sure like a classic album, conversation album. Nominated for Album of the Year, won Best Urban Contemporary Album. See, the problem is some of these albums, some of these extra categories can just, you just kind of, you just don't remember the history of the category, so the history of the album just gets lost in your own mind. But, oh, this has become now, see, it's even changed names. It's now the Progressive R&B Album Award. So, yeah, I think SZA won this one with SOS. So, it makes sense they would all end up being in the same category as The Weeknd. But back then, I guess it was the Best Urban Contemporary Album Award. Also won for Best R&B Performance with Earned It. Again, Best Urban Contemporary Album was Starboy. Best Melodic Rap Performance with Hurricane as well, too. And then, oh yeah, that just is the end of the Grammy noms. And then, yeah, I guess he got nominated again this year for Best Melodic Rap with We Still Don't Trust You off of the We Still Don't Trust You album. The second of the Future and Metro Boomin collab, which I forgot that had just picked up at Grammy nom in general. But shout out. I'm not even against it. I think that album's underrated. I like going back to it. I get that, it might not be an album you go back to and start to play the entire album, but there's quality on that album for sure. If there had been a interesting mix, where they had layered some of the softer R&B stuff with the rap performances of course, We Don't Trust You. Who knows if that album would be even more of a lock. And again, we'll talk more of the Grammys. I guess I'm not saying that it's a lock. But, just who knows if that would even have, made it a lock, I guess, for that award. But, I mean, you look at the commercial success that both the albums did, and it makes total sense, of course, why Future split it up into two projects. But, again, he's dominated his category and dominated his field, for sure, dominated his genre, and just dominated the numbers in general, but hasn't quite had that album get nominated for... I guess he only did because Starboy just got nominated in that category. It didn't get nominated overall. So Beauty Behind the Madness is the last time that he got nominated, just general field Best Overall Album, which is a long time, honestly, for, I feel like, a star that massive. Because Bruno won with the last album that he at least won in his category. I guess, I don't know if they won Best Album of the Year, though, with the Silk Sonic album. They won the Best Hip Hop Album, though, if I'm not mistaken. But let me double check. And, of course, we know Taylor, she won Best Album with the Midnight's album. It's going to be hard to overcome the year that Taylor Swift had leading up to that victory. But in terms of awards for Silk Sonic, nominated for Album of the Year at the Soul Train Awards. No. Leave the Door Open won the Grammy. Yeah. They didn't submit it, though? Oh, that's right. The album had been assumed top contender for Album of the Year. So, yeah, of course, with Bruno Mars, it would have been in the mix for getting nominated. So that's where I'm just like, there's like kind of a thing where it's like the stars with that level of star power kind of feel like a lock to also be a crossover into these categories that are obviously not the defining thing of quality, for sure. But, just as a general representation of what's going on. But again, as these artists, I guess are in the pursuit of dropping one of these classic projects. I guess, just in the pursuit of making great music. But a classic project would obviously mean that you accomplish that goal. But if you're going to potentially drop a classic later in your career, the one way to do it, of course, would be to mix up the sound and stray away from what you've been doing because, it's just, if you, I guess, again, the other stuff hadn't been considered a quote-unquote classic album or whatever. If you mixed up the sound and then it was like, this is it, this is the holy grail of it, and this is going to be one of the albums that are considered great, The Weeknd did definitely do that here, but it's also kind of a mix of all the sounds that you've gotten throughout his career. And that, I think, is obviously, like we were saying earlier, what makes this album so special. Where with an album like Starboy, with an album like After Hours, with an album like Dawn FM, you get these projects. But I was going back and even revisiting Dawn FM, which I guess according to the streaming numbers, we're one of the few people that aren't doing that on a regular basis. But just how much fun that album is. It's like a synthy pop album, and After Hours is just kind of a little bit of a darker, more hip. Is hip hop a term? Jeez, chat. It shouldn't be. That sounds kind of crazy. But I guess it's pop rap. Is the term we're looking for. Kind of that more darker R&B, like pop rappy type stuff is like a fun background vibe. And, again, Starboy in that dark psychedelic mood is, keeps you in that setting for the whole project as well, too. But you get this incredible synthy, like we're saying, pop. These are kind of the songs that you can these are probably the ones that are going to be like playing in the car a little bit and playing with people and playing around your friends. Like, as we move into the second half of this album, I mean, all these songs are quality for sure, but with some of these songs being a little bit longer, like you get some 4.5-minuters in here, it's like, okay, if we're in the whip with the buddies, I don't know if, we're going to be crooning to The Weeknd for the whole time, but when we're by yourself, chat, in the office, like I say, early Friday morning, just wanting to fire up some new music, like, once you hear the pivot to The Weeknd on some of this soul sample stuff, chat, it's like, oh man, this is, for a guy like us, the last piece of like the sonic puzzle palette, whatever, that he's, needed to add in there, I guess. And not needed is the right term, but you get what we're saying. Like, for a guy that just really loves that type of production, The Weeknd hasn't really had a ton of it. So it's just one of those things. Like, obviously, The Weeknd has hits and songs that we love and songs that are going to be in our rotation. But since there's just this sonic thing that we kind of naturally geared toward at the end of the day, The Weeknd is in, like, tier 2, tier 3 of, like, our mainstay rotation guys because of that. And now he has added even a new part to his thing. So I guess, like we were saying earlier, it's not even that he just mixed in and combined the sounds that he had before. Yeah, he did actually bring in these new sounds and add in these new elements to what he's been doing as an artist. And the Travis feature is amazing. You get Enjoy the Show, which is just immediately, again, just chat, blissfulness, chat. I'm going to have to mute and just listen to this. Chad, I know it's going to be a bad show, but I just can't unmute. I'm just going to have to leave it on mute and just keep jamming out to The Weeknd, chat. It's a vibe. I'm telling you, we got a vibe with this one. We got something that's going to be in the rotation. And like I'm saying, I would love to be in the whip and throw this on, but, we have at 450-ish, 5 minutes. It's a bit of a lengthy listen. Maybe we'll, fire up some Big X the Plug and have a good time. I guess, we're going to definitely be throwing on, like, Wake Me Up and some of these other tracks. But at 22 tracks, you do really see, I think it is kind of those three. Album itself is kind of a trilogy almost, where, 3 different sort of sonic tones of the album. Like we say, that synthy pop tone at the beginning, this sort of soul sample, crooning, hip-hop almost. It's almost like the soul sample R&B vibes in this middle part of the album. All the way through... Honestly, all the way through Niagara Falls. Timeless strays a little bit from that, obviously, Playboi Carti feature. Not necessarily a soul sample. Oh, this is definitely getting copyrighted, chat. Playboi Carti. I think I left that unmuted when I shouldn't have for a couple of seconds. Do I actually need to go in and check? I need to check and make sure. The reason I'm so paranoid, Chad, is because for the new people Jesus, chat. Sorry. For the new people that are here, uh, there was like a stream. I think it was our New Year's Eve stream. Got cut off like 30 minutes in because I like played 2 seconds of a song and showed a sports highlight, and they were like, "That's too much. You got to go." So they took us down. Which, you know, I guess if we have to spend New Year's Eve out with the boys, then YouTube, I guess we're the ones that are gonna win with that punishment at the end of the day. That's a pause. Hey yo. But yeah, obviously it turned out to be a great evening and a great live stream for those that attended as well. But unfortunately, that live stream is not available anymore. It is not up for replay. But okay, I think we're still cooking. So Playboy Cardi didn't take us down yet. But then we kind of get back on that vibe with Niagara Falls as well too. Chat, there's just so much emotion in these vocals, chat. These pitched up vocals are crazy. And you know The Weeknd always, his ear for just the drum production on songs. You know he's always looking for like a certain sound in those drums. And it's why he's always making these smash hits. I lied, chat. We're going to be, the boys are going to be in the fields, in the whip soon. That is for sure. The Weeknd's gonna have us emotional, chat. That's gonna be crazy. But these songs are gonna be too hard not to play. Pause. But then the next half of the album, and just looking at the album as well too, looking at the track list on Spotify, this last half of the album is where I really started to get nervous and where I thought maybe this is where, as a soundtrack album, it gets a little soundtracky, because I think he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 songs here to end the album with no 8 clean songs in a row, chat, to end the album. So it's like, okay, he's definitely gearing those up to be used in a movie. And I think Big Sleep as well too was one where it's a little ambient and the beat drop, there's a definite build up. It's like a minute 30 before we get, I think, a real sort of beat. Here, let me see, chat. And it's still definitely a quality track. It's a little, maybe it's just the fact that it's like, oh, now we're at the end of, this incredible run of, like we're saying, this soulful R&B that, maybe we were just a little sad about that. But once he got back, Give Me Mercy, Drive, The Abyss, like, Without Warning and Hurry Up Tomorrow as well, too. Very strong tracks to finish off the album and go back into more of that little more darker, psychedelic, like you're saying, a little more ambient kind of tone for The Weeknd. So, again, only time will tell, like, what... I guess we're to back-to-back weeks, Central C as well, too. Like, but that was the conversation. It's like, with Central C, if Central C gives us 3 or 4 more of those albums, we just got the Lil Baby album this year as well, too. His 4th album. Like, you can see it with him, where that first album where we're getting that Lil Baby and his melodic flow and his sort of the mumble thing that he's doing. But, I'm just saying that. I'm not saying he's like a mumble rapper. I'm just saying that, that tone that Lil Baby is giving you, his unique cadence and some of those early productions, it's just this special thing that you're getting. And now, a couple albums in, you're like, okay, this is good stuff, Lil Baby, but, are we going to see some new stuff? Are we going to see the lyrics sort of evolve as well too? And, to be honest, again, like if we're going to compare him to another Canadian, chat, you can kind of see that with Drake as well, where, I've gone back as well too to For All the Dogs and like Certified Lover Boy. Like I said, not replaying, not getting them stuck into the algorithm, but I guess in the algorithm a little bit because they're getting the lookups on the Spotify. We got to do a quick delete them out of the search history. Does Spotify have an incognito tab that we can look up Drake and chat and play Drake in the incognito tab? But but you see as well too where those obviously that early influence with the R&B. And the thing is Drake as well has evolved the sound of his music. Like his beats and his production have evolved, and the Conductor Williams beats that he's rapping over now is in that Griselda, product is that's just a different sound than the stuff he was necessarily doing over maybe Nothing Was the Same, the stuff that's in Scorpion, the stuff that's in Views. But some of the lyrical content hasn't necessarily evolved in that way, and there is still some of the bloat with some of the catering to the different audiences. It's like, okay, he is obviously taking album experiences and viewing them a little bit differently than maybe he was in the past. But, at the end of the day, it's still an album experience, right? And there's a time thing with those albums. Like, I think time will look favorably back on, not to say that For All the Dogs will be a classic album, but it's not like we're going to look back and be like, okay, that album sucks. Like, we're going to look back and be like, yeah, that album's fine. There's a lot of songs on there we can replay, and yeah, maybe there's parts of that album that aren't for you, but, there are definite parts of it that are, and those parts of it are really, really high quality Drake. The Drake rapping performances on For All the Dogs are really, really great performances. And, before the lawsuit chat, I got to be honest, like, just some of my favorite Drake production. The 8 a.m. in Charlotte, The Story About My Brother, Evil Ways, even first-person shooter mode. For the longest time after the beef, was having the hardest time and pause going back to that song, and just, I'd listen to it and be like, oh, J. Cole, what did you do to yourself, buddy? What did you do? But the song, it's just like the production on that is great, and J. Cole is, really rapping his tail off, chat, and he's really going for it, and it's like, okay, can we at least view the alternate timeline and, still view the history where it's like J. Cole is still an all-time rapper. We're not saying that. It's just, what could have been with the potential of him, not even just engaging, but just what could have been, what could have been if it just wasn't him apologizing at some point for dropping a diss track, But just the way that Drake has sonically evolved his sound as well, too. Like, it's been just much, and even if I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the quality of the album, like, regardless, we're not viewing these albums as classic albums. Like, maybe, I'm going to argue for Views higher up on a legacy list than most. If you want to argue for Scorpion as well, too, like, I'll get your argument because I'm going to be making a lot of the same points for Views, about the status of the album when it dropped, and, maybe I just view the tracks differently, but again, that part of it can be a little subjective, and still, I think Views is even a little bit more concise, and that is one where, kind of like The Weeknd on this, he's doing a soundscape, and the soundscape of the album is actually cohesive. Like, it makes sense. Like, that's the thing I think about For the Dogs is it's just, it is a soundscape, chat, but it's just, yeah, it's thrown together. It's, here's rapping, here's pop hits, here's the R&B, here's the other, Sexy Red, here's the SZA feature, which, shout out, of course, but, the vision for the entire project was not there in terms of, maybe it's just the visions for the tracks themselves. But, with The Weeknd, like we're saying, chat, he's able to accomplish both with this project. And at this stage in his career, I think is going to drop maybe the most, and it's hard to say, because, like, Starboy, like, had a single on that, was such a massive hit. Like, is he going to have a single on this album that is as massive as Starboy or Heartless? Like, what are the, it's got to be in his top 5 here for Spotify still. There's no way. I mean, those are 2 of the all-time streaming numbers. Oh, yeah, Blinding Lights as well, too. How can we forget Blinding Lights just in terms of a massive hit? And I guess Timeless, of course, is doing the numbers, but it's not even, it's doing the numbers on streaming. It's not the same sort of cultural presence that, like, Starboy and Blinding Lights are. In Die For You as well, too, of course. But, again, 4.5 billion streams for Blinding Lights. Like, that song, those couple of songs alone, like, just made The Weeknd, like, The Weeknd was overplayed, chat. Like, that's the one of the reasons, too, like, why, again, as kind of a teen and in college when some of this stuff is really popping off. Like, Starboy in 2016 at, when that's dropping and we're in high school and it's just everywhere. It's like, okay, we don't even need to try to listen to The Weeknd. Like, we're just going to be listening to The Weeknd just out and about. Any mall we walk in, and not that The Weeknd is mall music. We're not saying that. We're just saying that that's the level that he got to. It's just unavoidable. That's the level that he's at right now. Like, will this album have an individual track that reaches those peaks? I don't know. But again, revisiting this album as a whole will be crazy. And I think, again, for the hip-hop community, I think that middle section of the album with bringing in Travis Scott, bringing in Future as well, too. I forgot to mention that Future feature as well is crazy. I mean, Future's just singing, going toe-for-toe with the crooning with The Weeknd, with our boy Abel. But that's going to be really important for, guys like me going back to this project as well. Like, those are going to be, I can just tell you right now, those are going to be the most replayed Weeknd songs in his catalog. I mean, that's aggressive. That's a tough take it's not a tough take after one day, but again, like Die For You, chat. Like, I mean, these songs are still in certain playlists at the end of the day, so they're going to be in the rotation at some point, but those are still good quality songs that you want to hear out and about and just throughout the day instead of just at night, chat. But maybe in the day we'll be playing a lot of these newer songs we were talking about, like we were saying. But I mean, what a run for our guy The Weeknd. Obviously Abel is still going to be up to no good while he's around, but he's retiring The Weeknd, chat, which I know he's making big claims about his vision, and has he said everything he's needed to say about The Weeknd? Has he gotten The Weeknd's message across? Is it time to find a new voice? But let's be honest, that new voice is Abel wants to go make some movies. Abel's in Hollywood now. He's producing The Idol. Like we're saying, this album, I could definitely see him as a musical artist doing this, and like a Tyler, and even Tyler is like still like, he wants to be a director. He's talked about his, his relationship with the film industry. But, if it was just if he's just dropping an album and just being like, Eminem, I guess would be a good example for that. If it's like, yeah, this is the end of Slim Shady, whatever's next, but Slim Shady is no longer as a character in the, the main part of the rapping career. Is it going to be like RDJ? Will we see Slim Shady as a feature on an album at some point down the road if Eminem drops, a couple more albums? Like, say Eminem drops like 3 more albums. That third album, you don't think we're going to get Slim Shady just in an interlude? Just like, hey, not even Slim Shady just back in existence. Slim Shady, the voice of Slim Shady, just Slim Shady in Eminem's head, like a flashback moment or something. But we'll get a Slim Shady cameo at some point. Make no mistake, they always bring the IP back. It's it's the 2020s. This is how the industry works now. But the fact that this album is directly tied to a movie, it's like, oh, maybe that's what Abel's talking about. Maybe I know what the man means by I need to find a new voice. I need to find the money that you get from dropping a box office success, chat. And especially this one, like, with as good as this album, this is the best promo for the album, or the movie as well, too, is this album is amazing. Like, am I going to want to go see this movie just to see how they use this album in the movie? Like, I low-key might. Like, it's kind of that interesting, and maybe at first I need to track down the streaming potential for this album and see if it'll hit one of the DSPs at some point. I guess, do you say DSPs for, like, video streamers, or is that just for audio streamers? I think that just means, like, direct streaming platform, demand streaming platform. What is even the correct words for DSP, chat? It could be a lot of things, who knows? But yeah, even though maybe the man's going Hollywood, unfortunately, and of course, like we're saying, as a musical guy, it all makes sense as well too. Of course, the man gets to do what he wants, as long as it's good music at the end of the day. Like, as long as it's in the rotation, as long as people are enjoying it, I'm sure that is the end goal. It doesn't matter if he's calling himself The Weeknd or the Abel or what the character. Like, that's what and this is what The Weeknd is as well too. The Weeknd shifts characters. The Weeknd is always changing and molding who he is. Just the last 3 versions of himself, like, are him and Tyler, at least in terms, again, of maybe the space that we're in, like, him and Tyler are the best world builders. Because the thing with Kendrick, and again, we'll talk about Kendrick, and Tyler as well too. I get Kendrick is up for Grammys. Tyler's not up for Grammys yet, but there is a Kendrick and Tyler point that I really want to talk about. So stay tuned for that chat Sunday. The Grammy show will be live. But Kendrick still stays Kendrick. Like Kendrick in Good Kid, Mad City is Kendrick. In To Pimp Butterfly in Kendrick, in Damn he's Kendrick. In Mr. Morale he's Kendrick in Therapy. In GNX he's Kendrick. Like, and in Reincarnated he's different versions of himself. Again, in Duckworth there's different versions. He's shifting within the various projects, but at the end of the day, the projects are still kind of about Kendrick and Kendrick within himself. And I guess, at the end of the day, it's still The Weeknd. But, like, The Weeknd's character is different, and Tyler's characters are different. And their ability to create a character and put this character in a world is just a special thing, chat. And, I think if Kendrick made... Like, those three, I think, are probably the most cinematic hip-hop / R&B people that we have right now. I'm trying to think if there's, like Peggy as like a cinematic guy. His album experiences are obviously really robust with the amount of sampling that he uses. Like if Peggy was directing a film, like how would that go? JPEG Mafia. I mean, obviously we've seen what Childish Gambino's been able to do with his TV shows, and now Joey's crossed over into we're seeing Freddie Gibbs trying to cross over as well too. So people are doing it, but I guess I'm talking like as a creative as well, and not necessarily as like an actor. Like if Kendrick was running a TV show, if Kendrick had to put together like a 6-episode limited series, like Apple TV, like Kendrick is doing prestige TV. It just feels very prestigious. Same with Tyler, honestly. And I guess The Idol as well was supposed to be prestige TV. Supposed to be that. I didn't see The Idol, so I gotta be honest. The promo for it looked pretty good. Like, sexy enough. It seems like something you want to check out, but I don't know if the overall story quality was there, chat. But HBO will get you hooked with a couple of good scenes in the trailer, that's for sure. But yeah, in terms of like we were saying, The Weeknd, this is just one of the best character runs that we've seen from a guy in the industry, and another great character, another great world, another great project from The Weeknd that will definitely, like we're saying, be a mainstay in the rotation for a while. I mean, are we going to be more open-minded to The Weeknd not being overplayed now? I think we are, chat. Because like we're saying, back in the day, we're too stubborn, If somebody's being overplayed, it's like, we're not going to play him. We'll play the other people. We'll play the underground guys. We'll just mix up our rotation in a different way. But now it's like, nah. The Weeknd songs are good, man. I'll just play The Weeknd songs. It doesn't matter if everybody's listening to them. I'll still make my rotation the way it is. But yeah, I mean, come on, Chad. Just replaying a couple of these now. I can't wait till get there. This is another one of those soulful tracks. Whoa, there he is, chat. Sunshine. Sunshine. And which one of these are also Metro Boomins too? There was 2 other Metro Boomins, like we said. Cry for Me was one. Giving Up on Me. Okay, so that's the one I got going right now. This was also Metro Boomin. And then The Abyss at the end, which was the Lana Del Rey feature as well too. So, The Weeknd, of course, keeping it concise with his features. Lana Del Rey he's worked with in the past. Same with Future. Playboi Carti? Yeah, they did do the song from The Idol. But do they have any other songs? I guess is The Weeknd on any of Playboi Carti's songs? Yikes, chat. Exposing ourselves. Don't cancel us. We'll go through the Playboi Carti discography when the album drops. Because, we'll get caught up in the hype. So make no mistake, Playboi Carti. Once it rolls out, we will, I guess, be bumping a whole lot of red. But, yeah, Mike Dean, of course, throughout the album as well, like we said. So, and Travis Scott handled the production, some of it on his song as well, too. So, I mean, we know we're not going to be the most informed on the producer game, but those would be the ones that we know about. anyways. Especially for the weekend as well, too. Like, we wouldn't be as caught up on who the weekend's production team is that he's working with for the most part. But, yeah, him and Metro, of course, collabing in the past. And finally, of course, collabing with Travis is great. And I love the way that he's used as well, too, at the end of the track. Just in his melodic bag. Because, you know, do you want Travis to give you a verse on the Weekend album? But I think he fit the vibe, too, with what you're getting for a Weekend song. And this does feel like the most, you know, I don't want to say that this is the least sexy album because that the Weeknd has dropped, because that would sound like a bad thing, but I mean, Chad, the other albums that he just dropped they've been so steamy, Chad. You know? And of course the Weeknd is always going to put you in a mood now. I guess this album's still, you know, probably an 8 or 9 out of 10. But like I said, the other two, it's not a lack of quality. There's a accessibility. I guess, like we're saying, Die For You is freaking 4 million streams. It's not accessibility is the word. But yeah, I guess either way, chat. The Weeknd is back again with another strong entry, the last strong entry into the Weeknd discography. So let us know, of course, what you guys think. As always, your ratings, your favorite songs. We'll, of course, be going through our favorite songs as well, too. So stay tuned here on the YouTube. Stay tuned to our Instagram, our TikTok, all that stuff, because we'll post a couple more things about the Weeknd album, of course, and continue to talk about that, continue to react to that, because we'll continue to be listening to it. We'll continue to be bumping it. We'll continue to be playing it in the rotation. It's going to continue to be, of course, a steady presence. And like I said, we're not done talking music this week. I guess Sunday is that next week. But, you know, this weekend, we're not done talking music. We got the Grammys. We got a lot of awards to look forward to, which, speaking of which, should we check out the All-Star starters here? They were, I believe, announced today, right, chat? Am I crazy? Do we need to get those Bleacher Report notifications turned back on? 2025, no notifications. Is that a bad idea, chat? But let's see what we have for teams. So I guess they probably already announced the starters as well, too. Probably should have reacted to that when it happened. But Sam was probably just distracting us with the Chiefs, talking about how they're going to make the Super Bowl and do the three-peat, and Mahomes is the greatest, blah, blah, blah. But, here, let me see if I can get this switched over, chat. So for the Eastern Conference, 2 Knicks for the starters. Towns and Brunson. Mitchell, of course, for the Cavs. Tatum for the Celtics. And Giannis for the Bucks. And Cleveland's got to have a starter. I mean, they've got to have all-stars, obviously. And it's not that Mitchell is close to... I mean, Mitchell's playing at a level that's fine enough. Cavs are the best team. I guess you're not going to put Garland or Mobley on there. So, yeah, Mitchell makes a ton of sense as a starter. Same with Brunson. Knicks, top 3 seed in the East. Tatum, top 2. Giannis, top 4. You know, best player off the top 4 teams in the East. So if you're going for your second player, you're essentially narrowing the best second player in the Eastern Conference down to Karl Anthony Towns, Jaylen Brown, and, you know, if you want to throw Garland and Mobley in the mix as well, too, for throwing Dame Lillard in the mix just to get a Bucks guy in the mix. You know, we would say Bam and Jimmy Butler, but that combination's not going to happen anymore. So is it Bam and Tyler Hero? Do we throw Tyler Hero in the mix? You know, I guess if it was a healthy Sixers, could Maxey be in the mix as well, too? But like we're saying, top of the Eastern Conference, who's going to be in the mix for the starting? Because you kind of got to be in the mix for the top, or you got to be averaging, you know, 35 points a game. So I guess if we were to open up that conversation, though, to Maxey a little bit, who else could we throw in there? Because like we're not gonna really throw Siakam in that mix, you know. Like, we love and respect Siakam, but he's not gonna be the second best. He's not gonna be the best second best player in the Eastern Conference. You know, Brandon Miller on certain nights. Probably not Tobias Harris either. So, if it's, I mean, really the conversation is it between Towns and is it between Jaylen Brown? And Jaylen Brown was the Finals MVP last year, but Towns is objectively just having the better season, like we were saying, with that center value. Like, he has shown against Jokic that he can play at a high level in the playoffs, but he's also playing better in the regular season right now and playing on a team that fits him a lot better. So should we actually, let me look up here. I think I had pulled up, make no mistake, with the Fox rumors, I just had to double check. I was like, where did Simmons put Fox in his trade value rankings? How much are the Spurs going to have to give up to get Fox? But where do you have Karl Towns at? I'm assuming top 20. Was he top 15? He's not above Brunson. Okay, so he's got Brunson at 10. And he's got Towns at 23, Maxey at 24. Does he still have Towns above Jaylen Brown? Let me see if he's made that concession himself. He has Brown at 30. Yeah, so even the Celtics fan himself admits that Karl Anthony Towns is the second best, or is the best second best player in the Eastern Conference, because he's got all Western Conference guys here too for a potential playoff matchup. And I guess just playoff big picture in general, is Towns playing, not just Towns playing at that level, but his standing compared to those other guys, where I still have confidence in Brown in the playoffs, but I do have confidence in Towns in the playoffs as well. I think we're going to get an awesome Towns playoffs run. If this Knicks run is going to be something that's going to be a conference finals run, Towns and Brunson are going to be awesome. Like, maybe it's Brunson and Anunoby and Hart and the rest of the guys in town sucks again. Yeah, his three-point shooting is, I guess not again, but like, his three-point shooting is off. He's fouling. He's whatever. It's all an issue. But I think his offense is going to be a problem in the East. I think he's going to continue to be an issue. And I think that's totally fair. Shout out Karl Anthony Towns, former number 1 overall pick. Amazing what happens with those guys. But Western Conference, Steph, Shea, LeBron, KD, and Jokic. Steph! Whoa! Making it on as a Western Conference starter. Shout out. Love to see it. You got to give one last run for the top guys. It's not all NBA. It's an all-star. It still matters for the legacy, for sure. But what? Giving Steph one last all-star is a bad thing? And at the end of the day in history, it's not like it gets listed on here as a, if it just, at the end of the day, it's just how will it get listed on basketballreference.com? But it doesn't get listed on here as starter or reservation. He's 22% this year from 22 points a game. Not 22%, 22 points a game. 42% from the field, 40% from three, of course. Leads the league in free throw percentage. So you got to have the number 1 free throw shooter in the league on the all-star starting lineup. I agree. Put Steph in. Can we get LaMelo in the Western Conference and put him over Steph? Who knows, chat? No, we don't want to do that, of course. Love to see it. Love to see it. Of course, Jokic. Of course, Shea. Again, LeBron and Durant as well, too, from a star power standpoint. But the West is a little strange, chat. The West is a little weird like that, where you've got these massive stars at the bottom of the Western Conference and these balanced young teams at the top, which is, is the all-star conversation. A lot of times it overlaps with team building, of course. But in this instance, and in the, who's it going to be, chat? Who's like, you're going to put Jalen Green on the all-star starting team? I guess you could put, like, you're not going to put Ja. You could put Triple J on there as an all-star starter. So you going to put Triple J on over LeBron? Is Triple J a Clutch Sports guy? Let's double check that real quick, chat. I think Triple J might be signed to the old Clutch Sports group. No. Okay. He's not. Just double checking. Because I didn't know if there was some old agent chicanery there with the guys and with having, hey, Jaren Jackson, let LeBron, we'll get you a good deal. Not Hill, because he's not involved with the agency, but we'll get you a good deal if LeBron gets to be the all-star starter. We're calling that one into the league. You're not going to pick you're going to pick only Jokic, so that makes sense. And then, I mean, at that point, LeBron's the 5th seed, so you're going to dip into the Clippers, if you want to go Edwards, but the Wolves are the 7th seed. Kyrie, maybe Kyrie over Durant, especially since Luka's been hurt as well, if you want to give him credit for playing without a star player, if we just want to do that by chance, chap. But I'm sure he gets on the reserves as well. Let's see. Ooh. Kyrie Irving is not on the all-star list at all, chat. So make no mistake. Let's see here. Sengun, Jackson, Harden, Davis. Harden, I mean, Kyrie will be in the game. Harden's not playing in this game. There's no way. But he's not initially listed. So for the reserves, we've got Brown, Siakam, Garland, Cade, Mobley, Lillard, and Hero out of the Eastern Conference. And like we said, West. Edwards, Davis, Harden, Jackson, Sengun, Jalen Williams, and Wemby. J-Dub? The Thunder are 37-9, but that's another team where you got to put a second all-star, I guess. But I don't know. Do we need to suck off the Thunder this early, Chad? Let's let them win a couple of playoff series first, Jalen Williams, 21 a game, 47-34 this year, 21-5-5. I think Kyrie is up near 24, 25 a game. 24 a game, 48-41. And he's been on Dallas for 38 games. Okay, 38. What was Jalen Williams at? Probably a little bit more than that. 45. So 8 more games played. It's a tough one, Chad. It's a tough one, but you got to respect it. You got to respect what the Thunder have been doing this season. So it makes sense that the 2 guys with a team with that record would get on there. And of course, Wemby's got to be on. Wemby honestly could have been a starter. You're going to put Durant on the list? How far is Wembanyama behind Durant in the Western Conference right now? 20, 24. Okay. We're getting a little talking about sucking off the Thunder, chat. We gotta settle down ourselves. Pause. But let the man earn his stripes. He'll be starters down the road. Durant, like we're saying, next year. I mean, there's no way Wemby's not a starter over Durant. There's no way. Wemby with De'Aaron Fox, lock him in for the starting position. Steph over Kyrie as well, too. 24 wins to the Mavs, 26. It's Steph. It is what it is. Sam was a little upset, though. Sam was texting me about LaMelo being the lead vote getter and still not getting on. So I know maybe the league is not thrilled to reward a Hornet in the All-Star game, but LaMelo as well, too, would be fun for that game. LaMelo could be a fun All-Star game addition. The kids would love seeing him. And I know he might be a guy that could potentially have effort issues as well. So, some performance issues with LaMelo in the All-Star game. Do we just need to get these guys on a blue chew for the All-Star game? I don't need to know what needs to happen. But just more baddies courtside. Maybe that's what the league needs to do. League, we'll just throw you a little tip, a little suggestion, a little corporate. Can we just slide a little comment in the comment box to end the podcast? If you want to improve the All-Star game, put more baddies courtside and get guys like LaMelo Ball and get guys like Jordan Poole in the game. And you'll actually end up with some competitive fourth quarter basketball. You'll be surprised at the 3-point shooting and the defense played in the All-Star game if you just DM a couple of Instagram models and go, hey, we got a couple of tickets for you courtside if you want to come watch these players hoop on a Sunday night. But, who are you going to put LaMelo on over? Cade, Garland, again, you need the second Cav. And the third Cav as well, too, with Mobley. Like, it's totally fine rewarding both of those guys. That big 3 is obviously the head of the team. Pause. Jaylen Brown, of course. Lillard, yeah, you got to have a second buck. Top 4 team in the East. And Lillard has had his nights offensively where they lose because of Lillard sometimes, but they do win because of Lillard. Obviously, they win because of Giannis, but they do win because of Dame. And his three-point shooting is a reason in the streaky moments why they are fourth in the Eastern Conference. So maybe you want to argue LaMelo over Siakam. Do we need two Pacers? But you've got two Lakers, so they had to justify putting in Davis by putting in Siakam. I don't know, chat. That maybe is not the worst thing in the world either. But was Halliburton a starter? Or reserve? And I guess Halliburton's shooting numbers haven't been good. So I guess, one Pacer in principle is fine too. If you got to have one. And Siakam being the better Pacer this year makes total sense. So I was proposing, let me see if Sam actually liked the idea. If he liked the idea, then I'll put the comment in the suggestion box. Let's see what he says. Oh, nope. He's just moved on to Amen Thompson now. Shout out, chat. Another guy who I think the whole league is now, of course, infatuated with. As, the REMINGTOM pod is at the forefront of the Amen Thompson fan club. I think Sam's been a big Thompson twin fan this entire time. I think if we check the tapes on that, we'd find Sam making some pretty favorable comments for the Overtime Elite kids. But I was saying, do we just need to add that last spot into the All-Star game where it's just that fan vote leader? Where not every year, the fan vote guy is a guy from the 10th seed or the 12th seed in the bottom of the conference where you go, oh, maybe this is not a guy we put in. But there is always a guy down there as well. There's always one just random guy at the bottom of these conferences that needs to make an All-Star game. We had Markkanen last year. We had Beal a couple of years ago. So for the fans, and I guess, maybe Markkanen and Beal weren't fan voted in, but, if there is ever a situation like that, just, let's add a spot. Put LaMelo in. Who cares, man? Make LaMelo an All-Star. I get the legacy thing as well, too. Just handing out All-Star appearances. We don't want to start turning it into the Pro Bowl. But, again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, chat. It doesn't matter. Just put LaMelo in the game and call it good. But shout out, like I said, we will be back, of course, this weekend talking Grammys, talking awards, talking maybe some more NBA trades. We got, like I said, the De'Aaron Fox rumors to address. I'm still trying to cook up more Jimmy Butler ideas, just more trades in general. I think I might be cooking up a Beal one, but then I always forget he just has the no trade clause and for some reason just doesn't want to go anywhere. He just is like, nah, I'm good in Phoenix. This is prime real estate. I'm not giving this up, baby. You're telling me I'm going to move out of Phoenix? I'm going to retire here. I'm going to settle down. So he's not going anywhere, but we're still working on the trade machine. We're still cooking stuff up and we're still trying to see what we can possibly imagine before this deadline hits. So Spurs up by 19 over the Bucks with less than 8 minutes to go in the fourth. It's looking mighty favorable. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it before we were about to take off. But like I said, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on, are we on DeepSeek yet? Does DeepSeek have a short form TikTok reels on it? I don't know what they've got going on over there. But who knows? IT may have us cooked up a little profile on one of those new apps out there. But yeah, we're on all the traditional social apps anyways as well still. Just good old American apps, chat. YouTube, Meta, Spotify, Apple, just good old American corporations. They're taking us down, but they're entertaining us in the process. So we're on there and you can subscribe to us on those We're just randomly turning into a conspiracy theory corner while we take off, chat. It just is what it is. But yeah, like I said, we will be back Grammys pre-show talking awards this weekend. So thanks for jumping on tonight, guys.